So the next to interpolate is Congressman Keith Flores. You have 10 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just like to be clarified with Napolcom. Did you just mention earlier that the case against the CIDG officers were all dismissed?
From what we have gathered, Your Honor, from the criminal cases were all basically dismissed, Your Honor.
The criminal cases?
Yes, sir.
Have administrative cases been filed against them before the Napolcom?
Yes, Your Honor. It was decided by then Chief PNP De La Rosa that the said persons will be demoted.
Just demoted?
Yes, Your Honor. Just demoted.
Ang penalty nila in the administrative case is demotion lang?
Yes.
Klaruhin ko lang.
Yes,
Okay,
Your Honor.
from your opinion, Attorney Bernardo, what were the mistakes or errors that were committed by the team that enforced the search warrant? Like, if I'll just go through it now, from the testimonies that I've heard. Using bonnets or covering their faces, is that proper?
Yes. Under the circumstances, Your Honor, bonnet is not at all supposedly used for that purpose.
So in enforcing a search warrant, it should not be used.
Yes,
Their
precisely.
faces should not be covered.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
They are-
Second,
Yes.
Attorney Bernarda, was disabling the CCTV in the jail facility also proper and in accordance with the SOP of the PNP in enforcing a search warrant?
That is improper and actually it's irregular to remove the CCTV.
Okay.
Because in fact, the Supreme Court required them to use body-worn camera or alternative recording device in the execution of search warrant.
Third, was it proper for them to disarm the jail guards and the PNP that were sent to augment the security in the area?
It is also improper. That should not be the case, Your Honor.
Okay, now of all itong tatlo lang, supposedly, if this were the offenses, administrative complaints filed against them, would that warrant a demotion? Just a demotion?
Theoretically, Your Honor, demotion is not enough, Your Honor.
For all these three lang. I'm not even discussing the death.
Yes, Your Honor.
What should be the proper penalty then?
These are serious irregularities in the performance of duty. This could amount for a dismissal.
They should have been dismissed, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And why do you think was the penalty of demotion meted upon them by then Chief PNP Bato?
I could not actually, Your Honor, understand the rationale of a mere demotion on the same. Because our belief is that although conspiracy is not necessary to prove an administrative case, but in the case of Colonel Marcos, he may be then equated to a principal considering that he was at the site when the supposed search warrant was executed. He was then at the door of the sub-provincial jail, and he insisted to open the same. Only he returned back to his vehicle. The security the augmentation from the CIDG Region 8 and the Regional Maritime Unit 8 is also may be liable in the individual participation, principal by indispensable cooperation. Because without the indispensable assistance or support of the CIDG 8 and regional mobile unit, they could not overpower the sub-provincial jail. Meaning, therefore, they are liable for principal by indispensable cooperation. Now, by direct participation, those who executed all of those offenses, including the consequence for the demise of the two individual, may be rendered principal by direct participation, Your Honor. Notwithstanding that conspiracy may not be applicable in administrative cases, but their individual participation could very well establish from the records of the case, Your Honor. Plus, this can be bolstered by the investigation done by the NBI on the same.
So from an administrative point of view, Attorney Bernardo, there are no more cases that could be filed against the police officers who enforced the search warrant.
Your Honor, the respondent in fact appealed to the National Appellate Board. And in one occasion, we discussed the merit of the case. It was at that opportunity, with due respect, I met the commissioner at that time Commissioner Leonardo at that time opted to acquit all of the respondents. But I hasten to add that if that's the most thing that they could have done during their time, how then could it be possible at this time now that they could be acquitted for all of these offenses? And therefore, we met again, and the other two commissioners are now inclined to reconsider. And they would render a different resolution or determination of the appeal cases. It's forthcoming. We are seeking also additional substantiation from the NBI to see whether we could rely from the SOCO report or from the medical legal, from the forensic pathologies, what may have been the cause of death. Is it actually an exchange of gunfire, or was he killed within the cell, in cell number 1 and in cell number 2 for Raul Yap, for that matter?
Thank you, Attorney Bernardo. Colonel Leonardo, sir, Commissioner Leonardo, I'll ask you again the three things that I thought were improper in the conduct of the search, or in the enforcement of the search warrant. Like, one, having face coverings or a bonnet. Is that proper, sir? While enforcing a search warrant?
During my when I conduct implementation of search warrant, I never.
Can you answer closer to the mic, sir, so we can hear you?
I never do that during my conduct of.
I'm asking you, sir, from the standard procedures of police officers, sir. Is it proper for police officers to use face coverings in enforcing a search warrant? Yes or no?
I think no, Mr. Chair. For me, no.
So it's not proper. Two, is it proper for police officers to disable the CCTV system in enforcing a search warrant? Yes or no?
No, Mr. Chair.
Three, what was the third one I asked kanina? Was disarming the jail guards and the police officers who augmented the security in the area proper in enforcing the search warrant that was issued by the judge?
It depends on the situation, Mr. Chair. If they pose a threat to the implementing,
Then they could be disarmed.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so depending on the situation. But on the first two, you said that it was improper.
For me, it was
Yes, for
improper,
you.
Mr. Chair.
Now, if these two were improper, out of the three that I mentioned, why did you move for the acquittal of these police officers? Did you not
Actually-
find it, you just mentioned that it was improper. Did you not find it that they should be held administratively liable for violating the procedures in enforcing a search warrant?
Mr. Chair, just to correct the manifestation of Vice Chair Bernardo, I never intended to acquit everybody. Actually, the motion for Laraga and Duarte and others are meted 5 months, 6 months, something like.
6 months of what,
no,
sir?
no, no. 6 months, Mr. Chair.
Of
And
what?
some, there are some were acquitted, recommended acquitted, but that was just a recommendation, Mr. Chair.
Just a recommendation. But you think that they should be administratively, at least administratively held liable?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes. And this is after how many years from the time of the incident that took place? How many years?
I think that was 8 years. 8 years already, Mr. Chair.
8
From
years.
2016 to up to present, Mr. Chair.
So 6 years actually, 6 years. No? 2018. Yeah, anyway.
20
So it's
now.
that number of years and these police officers are still actively in the service because the administrative case has not yet been resolved up to now. Is that correct, Colonel Leonardo?
I think some of them are no longer in the service, Mr. Chair.
Was it as a result of this administrative case or for some other reasons?
I'm not sure, Mr. Chair, some because of this case, Mr. Chair.
But I thought that case was still pending before the Napolcom.
The
Attorney
appeal,
Bernardo.
Yes, Your Honor. It is still pending in the National Appellate Board. I could not make a decision alone because these are collegial. We are 4 of us, and at that time, we are not in the same opinion with Commissioner Leonardo, while the 2 others are still trying to decide whether they would side with me or side with Commissioner Leonardo. And it might strike a good decision when I'm seeking the records of the NBI to substantiate the fact that the cause of death was not at all through exchange of fire, but rather, if I would follow the medical legal, it might have been a murder case or at the very least, a homicide. And they are not supposed to be simply demoted, Your Honor.
Should the administrative case be faster, Attorney Bernardo?
Yes, it should have been, but in as much as the decision, I was then alone because the other commissioners are still trying to evaluate the case. I was just alone in pushing for an early resolution.
The point that I'm raising, Attorney Bernardo, is the fact that if these people are still in the active service of the PNP, then they could still be performing acts which are illegal or improper and not in accordance with PNP policies. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
That's why there's a need to hasten the proceedings siguro, sir. Di ba?
Yes, pinakiusapan ko nga, Your Honor, yung dalawang pang commissioner na they are now siding with me at this time, considering the fact that time has lapsed and justice delayed is justice denied for the victims. And I am asking the NBI for an additional evidence to bolster my recommendation that there's supposed to be a rendition of judgment and to reverse simply a demotion. It should have been more severe penalties to be imposed.
Are they now siding with you only after Colonel Leonardo resigned as commissioner from the Mapolcom?
I would ask them, Your Honor, but
But was the decision to change their minds recent?
it's quite recent, Your
Quite
Honor.
recent.
Quite recent, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair,
Thank you, Congressman Flores. Congressman Acop?
in relation to the issues raised by the Honorable Flores, Napolcom, na-charge din po ba si Colonel Marcos?
Na-charge, Your Honor, pero hindi ho nag-appeal eh. I think suspension lang ata ang sa kanya eh. Kaya hindi na po siya nag-appeal eh. Yung iba lang mga kasama ang nag-appeal,
Was
Your
his
Honor.
sentence served?
I suppose so, Your Honor. It's supposed to have been served by this time.
Suspension. How about Mayor Laraga?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I was demoted, Mr. Chair.
You were demoted.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Samantalang si Colonel Marcos na-promote. Di ba doon sumasama ang loob mo?
No, not necessarily, Mr. Chair.
Not necessarily.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Pero alam ko, sumama ang loob mo eh. Di ba? Dahil ikaw, na-demote siya, na-promote. If you look at the orders of Colonel Marcos, it was through the orders of the President, former President, signed by the Secretary of the Interior and Local Government, as attested by DPRM, if you look at his orders. Di ba? Kaya alam ko, masama yung loob mo dahil hindi ka na ganun eh. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Congressman Acop.
Chairman.
Now, yes,
Just,
Congressman Paduano.
I consulted the COMSEC, and as far as I remember, during the previous hearing, we invite the deponent, no? And now Major Laraga is here. Major, sino nga yung deponent nyo?
Mr. Paul Olendan, Mr. Chair.
Ito,
Is he here?
case to ni, ano, ni Mayor Espinosa.
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Magkaiba pa yung sa case ni Alvarez.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Now, in the case of Mayor Espinosa, sinong deponent?
Mr. Paul Olendan, Mr. Chair.
Anong background niya? Why he was chosen as a deponent?
He was a previous PDL, Mr. Chair.
Previous PDL.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Kaya nga sabi kanina na Polcom na yung comment yung ni Justice, well in fact walang direct knowledge yung deponent mo. Kasi dating nakakulong pero nasa labas. Paano siya, kasi supposedly the deponent has direct knowledge, di ba?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Oh, why him? Na hindi naman siya nakakulong.
Mr. Chair, based on the
Hearsay.
testimony of the
Testimony-
opponent, Mr. Chair,
Testimony of whom?
Of the deponent, Mr. Chair, which was
Ang
subjected
tanong ko nga
to...
sa iyo, kasi ikaw yung nag-apply, di ba, ng search warrant?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Ikaw nag-handle.
Yes,
Now,
Mr.
anong testimony niya? Nakita niya na may baril doon sa loob?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Paano niya nakita?
He was, according to him, Mr. Chair, was able to go inside. And he was, if I'm not mistaken, invited, Mr. Chair.
Have you checked the warden that indeed your deponent has visited that jail? Sandali po, yes or no lang. Ikaw, Major Larga,
Yes, Mr. Chair.
huwag ka magsinungaling. Yes or no? Have you checked the warden that indeed your deponent has visited the jail to confirm that indeed there's a gun?
Personally, no, Mr. Chair.
Sorry?
Me personally, I did not, Mr. Chair.
Oh, you did not.
Yes, Mr.
But
Chair.
you applied for a search warrant without checking that indeed yung testimony ng deponent mo na nakapasok siya doon.
I believe, Mr. Chair, I don't have any recourse as to validate.
Ayun
Where
yung
in
problema
fact,
mo.
he has
Then
been
why?
inside jail.
Then why? You apply for search warrant.
Actually, Mr. Chair, that
And then,
illegal trade
sandali,
inside the...
you mentioned about the testimony of your deponent, di ba? Tama?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Now, tinatanong kita, paano mo na-verify na indeed that testimony is true and correct?
Mr. Chair, I was made to believe that his
You were made to
testimony-
believe.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
But you have to check. Now, question. Sabi mo kanina, nakita niya, nakapasok siya doon nung nagbisita siya. Tama?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Now, doon sa, ano po, kay Warden. And then the PDL, former PDL that was mentioned by Major Larga, nakabisita po ba siya doon kay Mayor Espinosa?
Mr. Chair,
Major Larga, pakiulit nga po yung pangalan ng former PDL.
Mr. Paul Olendan, Mr. Chair.
Do you know Paul Olendarin?
Hindi po, Your Honor.
Hindi mo kilala?
Hindi po kilala, Your Honor.
Oh, Major Larga, hindi niya kilala. Former inmate, saan yun? Siya. Hindi, ikaw. Major. Dapat alam mo yung background ng deponent mo, di ba?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Saan siya dati nakakulong?
I believe in Aboyog Penal Colony, Mr. Chair.
The same? No.
No, I think...
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
we do not have any PDL by the name of Ulindan. And records, upon verification of our records, he never visited the Baybay Sub-Provincial Jail Facility.
Oh, Major Larga, hindi siya former detainee o inmate ng provincial jail. Sabi mo nga sa Aboyog. Tapos, hindi rin nag-visit doon. Medyo Larga, wag kang
Mr.
magsinungaling.
Chair, I cannot answer for and in behalf of my deponent and that as to regard of
No,
the version
sandali
of,
po. Hindi ko po sinasabi sa iyo that you have to answer. Ikaw po nagsabi na sinabi ng deponent mo na bumisita sa doon.
that is correct, Mr.
And
Chair.
now, the jail warden confirms na walang nangyaring visit.
I cannot attest to the
Yun nga ang
statement of the jail.
Yun
guard,
nga,
Mr. Chair.
sabi ko sa iyo kanina, tinanong kita, have you checked?
Personally, not, Mr. Chair.
Personally?
Me personally.
Bakit sino pa ba dapat mag-check?
I believe we have a surveillance personnel who took...
Ikaw ba naman,
Validation,
Major
Mr. Chair.
Laraga? Ikaw yung nag-apply, principal nag-apply ng mga search warrant, tapos sabihin mo na, di ba sinabi mo kanina, nagbisita siya?
Based on his testimony, Mr. Chair.
Oh, kaya nga sinasabi ko sa iyo, based on this testimony. Now, kino-confirm ngayon na walang nangyaring visit yung deponent mo. O, sino kayo may problema?
Mr. Chair, we have been filed. I was also a respondent or accused of the
Sandali po,
criminal case
I am
for...
not asking you about your case. Well, in fact, demotion nga lang eh, di ba? You were just demoted.
The criminal case for malicious application of search
And now you're
warrant.
invoking sub judice in
No,
this
no, no,
committee?
Mr. Chair, that was also the, there was a case filed against me, Mr. Chair, and then
So,
the search warrant, actually, Mr. Chair, it was the honorable judge, through searching questions and answers, who made the probable cause and issued the same, which until now, Mr. Chair, was, as ruled by the Supreme Court, was valid and the application was proper. I believe, Mr. Chair. I submit to the Supreme Court's ruling, Mr. Chair. If
valid.
that's my humble submission, Mr. Chair.
Na valid yung application ng search warrant?
Yes, Mr. Chair. It was in the ruling of the Supreme Court, Mr. Chair. I humbly submit.
May I know?
Sandali.
May I know anong ruling yan?
Mr. Chair, it was a consolidated case of all of the
Are you a
confused...
lawyer? Are you a lawyer?
I'm not, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Can you give me do you have a copy with you of the ruling?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I have.
Pahingi nga kami. Paige, can you please get a copy and submit this copy to the chair? Please proceed, Congressman Paduano.
Sino po yung nag-file ng case against
It was the NBI, Mr. Chair.
the NBI?
Yeah, perjury and malicious application of search warrant, Mr. Chair.
So, the Supreme Court decided in
No,
favor?
no, sir, at the Municipal Trial Court of Pasay Samar, Mr. Chair.
So, nag-appeal ba yung NBI? Did they appeal?
I think they did not, Mr. Chair.
They didn't.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Oh, ito yung problema. NBI, are you familiar with the case?
Good evening, Mr. Chair. We are familiar with the case. However, with if the questions will be about the case itself, we would like to have a moment with the records and we will submit the records of the case on the next hearing, Your Honor.
Ano na po, update kami dito, no? Kasi, while you're telling this committee na yung MTC rules favorable to your case, tama?
That is correct, Mr. Chair. It was dismissed, Mr. Chair.
Pero alam mo na rin ngayon na there is a Supreme Court ruling also na
It was issued last...
sandali, na bawal mag-issue ng search warrant on government facilities.
Actually, Mr. Chair, it was fully discussed in the ruling, Mr. Chair, that it is allowed to apply a search warrant for a criminal investigation.
Sa MTC yan.
No, Mr. Chair, from the Supreme Court in bank, Mr. Chair. The one that I give the ruling, Mr. Chair. It was fully discussed in there, Mr. Chair. That's why I said I humbly submit to the ruling of the Supreme Court with that regard, Mr. Chair.
Hindi, papacheck namin ha. Papacheck namin kasi magkaiba tayo ng appreciation dun sa ruling ng Supreme Court. Yes.
Mr. Chair, I think Major Gargar, the question of Chairman Paduano was whether or not you knew for a fact that there was no, that the deponent that you brought before the court was not a detainee. Did you have prior knowledge of the fact that he was not a detainee?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So alam mong hindi siya detainee?
At that moment, Mr. Chair, he was already outside. Yeah, previously, Mr. Chair.
But you just heard the warden say that they have no records of him being a detainee.
It was from a different facility, Mr. Chair.
But you just said that it was the Abayug, what was that?
Abuyog.
Abuyog.
Yes, that is correct, Mr. Chair.
We
They are from the Baybay jail.
Baybay sub-provincial facility kami.
Okay, so where was Mayor Espinosa detained?
Baybay sub-provincial jail facility.
Bye-bye. And you were at, what was your place? Abuyog? Well, are you at Bye-bye?
Baybay.
Kayo?
Yes.
And Major Gargar was saying that the deponent that they brought was also a detainee at Bye-bye? Tama
No.
ba? He was a detainee at a different place? So
Yes.
if he was detained at a different place, how could he say, or how could he testify that Mayor Espinosa had these illegal things in his cell?
Mr. Chair, if I may be able to...
If they were detained
Discuss.
at different institutions?
Mr. Chair, if I may be able to discuss.
Go ahead, sir. Please.
Mr. Chair, the situation kasi noon, Mr. Chair, is that PDLs or those previously detained and also inside the jail, Mr. Chair, they have all connections from different
so
different
sinasabi mo,
jails.
chismis lang, Marites. He heard. He didn't actually see.
No, Mr. Chair, he was able to penetrate based on his testimony, Mr. Chair. That is not my testimony, Mr.
He is detained at a different facility, yet he is
Before.
able to penetrate.
Before, Mr. Chair, before. So he has knowledge. He knows yung kalakaran po sa loob ng mga jails, yung with regard to illegal drug trade, Mr. Chair.
Knowing the kalakaran and actually seeing it and having personal knowledge of these things are two different things. Major Laraga, tama po ba?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Oh, so you bring an opponent who had no personal knowledge of the things except just knowing the kalakaran in the area? Yan ang deponent mo? For the issuance of a search warrant?
No, Mr. Chair, he has personal knowledge, Mr. Chair.
How did he get personal knowledge again? Can you enlighten me po?
In his testimony, Mr. Chair, he was able to penetrate.
How did he penetrate a jail facility without him being detained there? Was he a jail guard?
There was his, actually, I don't have his sworn affidavit,
But you
Mr.
interviewed
Chair,
him,
and
I'm
I
sure,
cannot,
di ba? Major Laraga, in-interview mo siya before mo siya pinesenta sa korte, tama?
Yes, Mr. Chair, and
Oh, so anong-
he was subjected to a searching question and answer
No,
by the issuing
I'm
judge.
asking you. In-interview mo ba yung deponent mo?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Oh, so ano
By
sabi
the
niya?
investigator also.
Yes, paano niya nalaman? How did he have personal knowledge? Yan ang gusto mo malaman.
It was in his affidavit,
I'm
Mr.
asking
Chair.
you. You interviewed him. You just said that you interviewed him.
Yun nga, Mr. Chair, nakapasok siya doon.
Paano nga makapasok?
Nagka-transaction sila ni, if I'm not mistaken, doon sa ano, nagkaroon sila ng mismong physical ni the late Mayor
Okay.
Espinosa.
Major Laraga, explain how he explained to you paano siya nakapasok as an ordinary civilian na hindi detainee in a jail facility. Paano siya nakapasok?
Actually, Mr. Chair, the allegation na mayroong collusion between mga bantay doon sa loob is yun yung reason na nakapasok sila. And that has been already almost public knowledge in the penal institutions there in Region 8, Mr. Chair. Alam naman po nung almost lahat ng operatiba doon prior to that, Mr. Chair. Talagang
So ang sinabi niya sa'yo by collusion with some jail guards maybe and some other persons inside the jail, he was able to go inside. Is that correct? Major
yes,
Laraga?
Mr. Chair. Through the influence of the drug lord, Espinosa Drug Group.
And that from his entry into that facility, he was able to see firsthand how things were being done. That's why you're saying that he had personal knowledge of these things.
That is correct, Mr. Chair, based on his testimony, Mr.
And you believe that, Major Laraga?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Because you brought him.
believe. Because prior to that, Mr. Chair, I had been the operative, and we already had an intel information with regard to that illegal drug trade inside a penal colony and any detention facilities,
Okay,
Mr. Chair.
now, is that the reason why when you entered the facility, you wore a bonnet or covered your face?
Mr. Chair, that is not true, Mr.
That
Chair.
is not true.
I was not wearing bonnet, Mr.
Okay,
Chair.
is it true that you turned off the CCTV system inside the jail facility?
That is not true, Mr. Chair.
So none
and,
of you did. It was all working at the same time.
Yes, Mr. Chair. With regard to that, Mr. Chair, we had been also charged with that particular violation, Mr. Chair,
And?
by the NBI.
By the NBI.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Also in court.
In court, Mr.
Also
Chair.
dismissed.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Oh, you have a very good lawyer. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair?
Thank you, Congressman Flores.
Mr.
Yes,
Chair.
Congressman Angkop.
Yes. Major Laraga, how long have you been with CIDG?
Since 8 years,
8
almost 8 years, Mr. Chair.
8 years.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And how many times have you applied for a search warrant?
Several times already, Mr. Chair.
Several times.
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Now, may I know, kung yung deponent ninyo dun sa kaso ni Mayor Espinosa ay walk-in o kayo ang nag-secure?
I believe there was a...
Ano ang talagang nangyari? Hindi ko
Bay-
tinatanong kung ano yung paniwala mo.
Pardon, I'm sorry,
Ang
Mr. Chair.
tinatanong ko, whether your deponent ay walk-in, nag-volunteer ng sarili niya, o hinanap ninyo. Hindi ko tinatanong kung anong paniwala mo.
Yes, sir. It was the... not walk-in, Mr. Chair. It was
Ano
not
nga? Nag-volunteer siya?
No, Mr. Chair.
Hinanap niyo siya?
Our
How
police,
did you come to know your
police
deponent?
handler. There was a police handler, Mr. Chair.
Ano?
There was a handler, Mr. Chair, an agent.
Sino
police.
yung handler na pulis na yun?
He was already retired, Mr. Chair.
Ang galing
I
mong
believe.
gumawa ng istorya eh.
Yes, I'm certain,
Now,
Mr. Chair.
Sige, assuming na mayroon siyang handler, since when na naging handler yung kuha na yun, informant nyo na yun, yung deponent? Binubola mo na ako eh.
Hindi, actually, hindi naman po, Mr. Chair, na bubola, Mr. Chair. Talagang mayroon lang po talaga siyang personal knowledge sa
Hindi ko naman tinatanong
pangyayari.
kung may personal knowledge eh. Ang tinatanong ko, how did you come to know the deponent? Ikaw nag-apply ng search warrant eh.
It was introduced to me by our personnel, Mr. Chair. That
Sino
merong...
nga yung nag-introduce sa'yo? What's the name?
Of our personnel, Mr. Chair.
Oo nga. Marunong ka bang umintindi ng English? Tatagalugin ko. Sino ang nag-introduce sa'yo nung deponent?
It was retired Kayubit, Mr. Chair.
Alin? Retired na siya nung in-introduce niya?
No, right
Active
now.
pa siya noon?
Active pa siya noon at that
May I
time.
know the name and the address?
Melvin Kayubit, Mr. Chair, at Palo
Alin?
Leyte.
Ano?
Melvin Kayubit.
Mr. Chair, may I move that we, in the next hearing, we invite subject person mentioned by Mayor Laraga as the deponent in the search warrant against or issued against the late Mayor Espinosa.
Comsec, you are directed to invite the said person named by Congressman Akop.
Nung ipinakilala sa iyo yung deponent, ano ang protocol dapat kung si IDG ka for 8 years?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I have to, of course, the investigator must interview and do a background and validation, Mr. Chair.
You have to conduct a review,
Interview
and validation.
And validation of the
Ikaw.
back. The investigator, Mr. Chair, our investigator who will get the
And who
testimony.
was the investigator who conducted the review, the interview and validation?
It was, Mr. Chair, can I check the record first?
You check it now.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Hindi ko alam kung saan mo checkin ihon. Niloloko mo na kami.
I'm sorry, Mr. Baka magkamali ako dun sa pangalan, Mr.
Sige
Chair.
nga, hanapin mo. Saan mo hanapin dyan?
Mr. Chair, I could not, if my recollection is correct, Mr. Chair, it was PO3 Johnny Ibanez.
PO3 Johnny
Ibanez,
Ibanez.
Mr. Chair.
Is he still in the active service?
I believe he already also retired, Mr. Chair.
He also retired.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
PO3 siya, nag-retire?
Yes, Mr. Chair, PO3.
PO3. Nag-retire siya, mandatory or optional?
I think
Kasi
it's
PO3
optional.
siya,
I
kailan lang
think
nangyari
it's
yun
optional.
iho eh. So wala pa siyang 20 years or 30 years or 56 years old.
Yes, Mr. Chair, maybe optional, Mr. Chair.
Optional. Huwag mo ako paglulukuhin ha. I'll find a way. Colonel Punanan, Will you please take the name dun sa sinabi niya and kindly give this committee the details whether nag-retire nga siya optionally o hindi? Pakitanong sa kanya yung pangalan at rangko. Kasi the way you're answering me, you're already quibbling, Major Laraga. Now, noong in-interview at saka validate, ikaw ba nag-conduct ng sarili mong validation when the investigator reported to you as far as his validation is concerned?
Negative, Mr. Chair.
Negative. Wala ka nang ginawa. Hindi ka man lang
Informally, Mr. Chair.
I beg your pardon?
Informally, just calling some, you know.
Hindi mo tinignan kung anong resulta ng validation?
Tinignan naman po, Mr. Chair.
And you did not find it unreasonable na isang dating PDL nagsasabi ng may baril yung isang PDL sa ibang detention center?
Credible naman po yung binabanggit ng
Credible sa iyo?
Mr. Chair.
Credible
Para
sa iyo?
yes, Mr. Chair.
Ang galing mong sumagot, pero yung bagay na yon is credible sa iyo.
Oo naman, Mr. Chair.
Paano maging credible yun? Paano niya nalaman na merong baril si Mayor Espinosa doon sa Kwan?
Meron po siyang personal knowledge doon, Mr. Chair.
Ano nga? You define personal knowledge to me.
Personally po, nagkaharap po sila ni...
Paano sila nagkaharap?
I cannot discuss the details. It should be
Why
the
can't you
deponent,
not
Mr.
discuss?
Chair.
Ikaw ang nag-apply eh.
I based
Mr.
on
Chair?
I endorsed in the application, Mr. Chair, I endorsed the
Hindi nga,
testimony
tinatanong
of
nga
the
kita,
affidavit.
nung nag-report sa iyo, hindi mo ba napansin kung reasonable o unreasonable yung validation? Kasi dapat magsuspecha ka na paano nakapagbibigay yung isang tao na dating PDL pero hindi naman PDL sa baybay ng statement na may baril si the late Mayor Espinosa doon sa selda niya.
Mr. Chair, kasi nakapasok daw siya doon, sir. At saka may contact,
Masasabi lang
may
ng-
connection naman sila.
Major Laraga, kasasabi lang ng mga officials doon, ni wala silang bisita na ganun, ni hindi sila nagkaroon ng PDL na ganun. You are lying!
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, but I cannot...
Mr. Chair, may I respectfully move that we cite Major Laraga in contempt for
Seconded.
violation of Section 11.
Seconded.
There's a
So
motion.
move, Mr. Chair.
There's a motion to cite Major Laraga in contempt for violating Section 11. And duly seconded. Are there any objections? Hearing none, you are now cited in contempt, Major Laraga. Comsec? Take note.
Second motion, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Congressman Paduano.
May I respectfully move that Major Laraga will be detained in the Quezon City Jail in a period of until the committee report will be approved in the plenary, Mr. Chairman. So move.
There's a motion to detain Major Laraga at the Quezon City Jail until the termination of the committee hearing and in the approval of the committee report in the plenary. Any second? Duly seconded. Any objections? Hearing none. The motion is approved.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Congressman.
since it's already 11:30, can we move to another issue that we left a while ago?
Yes, please proceed.
So, SDS asked for the recognition, Mr. Chair.
Kay Colonel Leonardo and then Colonel Garma.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nakita ko yung second affidavit ni supplemental affidavit ni Colonel Garma. Colonel Garma, pwede niyo munang basahin itong second affidavit niyo para marinig po natin bago tayo magtanong. Kayo po ang nagpirma nito.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So, ang date po nito is ngayon lang. October 22nd, 2024. Tama po ba?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Sino po nagnotaryo? Attorney
Martinez.
Martinez.
Mr. Chair.
Tama ho ba? Sige ho, Colonel Garma, baka pwede niyong basahin yung second affidavit niyo.
Mr. Chair, can I skip on the first, second, and third?
Yes,
I'll proceed with para 5 po.
Sige, okay.
I became aware of the so-called Davao Death Squad through various sources during...
Pakilakas lang po, ma'am.
I became aware of the so-called Davao Death Squad through various sources during my assignment in Davao. It was a common knowledge among officers that almost all station commanders had special teams designated for specific operations. Although I did not know the identities of this team, a culture of silence prevailed among police officers in Davao regarding such matters. My understanding of this operation was further solidified during my tenure as station commander of Sasa and Santa Ana Police Station from 2012 to 2016. During this period, I witnessed the existence of a reward system. While I served as a station commander of Sasa, I received a call from Lieutenant Colonel Padua, then the intelligence officer of Sir De La Rosa, who was the city director of Davao at that time. The call, which I received around 7 o'clock in the morning, informed me of an impending operation in my area of responsibility in Barangay Malagamot. From this communication, I understood the implication of the operation. A few hours later, I learned that a shooting incident had occurred in Malagamot involving a male suspect, which the investigation suggested was a legitimate operation. During my time as station commander of Sasa, the barangay captain, Barangay Hizon, reported to me that akyat-bahay incidents were prevalent in the area. They intercepted one male suspect acting as a spotter. An entrapment operation was planned, resulting in 2 suspects being caught in the act of stealing. One suspect was wounded and later died at the hospital, while the other escaped. From that operation, I received 20,000 from Sergeant Suwan, which was provided by Boy Alce. Furthermore, during my tenure at the Sasa Police Station, a personality identified by the barangay captain Panakan as a drug pusher and user known for illegal gambling and being a nuisance in their barangay was killed near GT Gasoline Station in Panakan. I remember this person because in the morning of that day of his death, the duty desk officer informed me that he went to my office and left an image of the Holy Family. He told my men that he just went to Mass and was very happy to present to our office the blessed image. The following day, I inquired with the police investigators about his death and the outcome of their investigation and was informed by Sergeant Suwan, trabaho yun, naka-care of po kay nung Boy Alce. There was never any clearance from my office of this operation, nor was my office informed of it. While serving as station commander in Santa Ana Police Station, I also became personally acquainted with the aforementioned reward system from June 2014 to January of 2016. We conducted various police operations that resulted in the deaths of suspects, drugs pushers, and hardened criminals. In one particular incident, along the coastal area, we monitored the Bitwal Akit-Bahay suspect. One suspect was caught in the act of climbing into another victim's house when my officers called out for him. He was shot during the ensuing confrontation, resulting in his death. For this operation, I received 20,000 from Sanel Benaventura. There was also an occasion when my office, in collaboration with CIDG 11, conceptualized a one-time big-time operation. This type of operation was outlined in a comprehensive operational plan and involved an interagency approach incorporating various government agencies, including the Commission on Human Rights, Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, and several PNP units such as the Maritime Unit, CIDG 11, Davao City Police Office, that includes station commanders, city mobile force, and the PNP Crime Laboratory, along with the local government unit of Davao for funding, barangay officials, and media representatives as witnesses. The co-plan was funded by the local government of Davao. Following the operation, a shooting incident occurred in self-defense, resulting in the death of a suspect. I did not receive any reward for this incident as my team did not engage in a direct encounter with the suspect. At the end of each month, all station commanders were required to submit reports documenting successful police operations to the LGU of Davao. These reports included details of case filed in the office of the prosecutor and other relevant information concerning the operation. For each case reported, an amount of 5,000 was allocated as reimbursement for operational expenses. These expenses encompassed bypass money, meals, gasolines, and payment for agents. The disbursement of these funds occurred monthly through Irma Espina, a kamuking, and we were required to sign documents acknowledging receipt of payment. For the death of suspect, Shani Benaventura provided direct payments of 20,000 to station commanders with no signed documentation required. Numerous other incidents resulting in deaths within Davao City occurred, of which I remained unaware until after the investigations were completed. A prevailing culture of silence was instilled among all station commanders and city directors. Your Honors, Mr. Chair.
Salamat, Colonel Garma.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, please proceed.
Maraming salamat, Madam Garma. I would like to direct my questions to Colonel Leonardo. Colonel Leonardo, totoo ba na ikaw na-transfer from MPD to Region 11 Davao as Chief ng CIDG ng July 2016, Colonel?
Correct, Mr. Chair.
Colonel, ano kaya ang dahilan? Bakit inassign ka doon at sino ang nag-assign sa iyo doon?
Mr. Chair, ang nag-assign po sa akin through memorandum orders, Mr. Chair, is Chief PNP Senator Bato de la Rosa, Mr. Chair.
Noong panahon na yon, sino po ang Chief PNP?
Si Chief PNP Bato de la Rosa, Mr. Chair.
Colonel, sa pagkakaalam ko, hindi basta-basta na ma-assign ka bigla sa isang malayong assignment. Kasi naman ng MPD, tapos nasa MPD ka, bigla kang nilagay sa Davao CIDG. Tama po ta, Colonel?
Tama po, Mr. Chair.
Paanong maaari ibig mong sabihin na na-transfer ka doon, Mr. Colonel?
Meron pong order, Mr. Chair, direct from Chief National Headquarters, Mr. Chair, during that time.
Colonel Leonardo, merong nakasulat dito na true shoot order kapag gusto ka ng Chief PNP, hindi ba? Ano po yung shoot order na yun?
Shoot order po, direkta po, hindi na dadaan ng usual process, Mr. Chair. Nangyayari po yun, Mr. Chair.
So, Colonel, ibig mo sabihin malakas ka kay Chief PNP, Bato de la Rosa.
Maaari po, Mr. Chair.
Very close ka ba kay Chief PNP, Colonel?
Nagkasama po kami sa isang province at saka sa Davao City, Mr. Chair.
Marami po kasi nagsasabi sa PNP na ikaw ang pinakamalakas kay Chief PNP. Totoo ba to?
Ay, hindi naman po, Mr. Chair. Hindi lang po ako ang malapit po siguro, Mr. Chair.
Ngayon, ilang taong ka na-assign sa CIDG 11?
4 years po ako doon, Mr. Chair.
4 years, Colonel. Di ba, dapat may clean na yung 1 year or 2 years. Pag sa kakalam ko, hindi po pwedeng papalitan. Bakit more than 2 years yata yung pag-stay natin sa CIDG 11? Colonel?
Basta hindi lang po ako nare-relieve, Mr. Chair. Naghihintay po ako kung i-relieve po ako, Mr. Chair. Hindi po ako nakatanggap ng orders.
Hindi ka nakatanggap ng order para palitan ka na kahit naging 4 years ka na doon, Colonel?
Opo, Mr. Chair.
Colonel Leonardo, ngayon, di ba nagpatunay ito ng naiba Kasi matagal kang na-assign dyan sa CIDG 11. Ano ba ang dahilan? Bakit hindi ka po napapalitan?
Nung time po na yun, basta hindi po ako napapalitan, Mr. Chair.
Pakiulit po.
Basta hindi po ako napapalitan kasi wala pong nare-receive na order, Mr. Chair.
Yun nga Colonel, yun ang ibig ko sabihin. Kasi walang chief PNP na gustong mag-alis sa'yo dyan kasi malakas ka sa presidente, former president, at kay Senator Bongo. Tama ho ba yun na Colonel Leonardo?
Malapit din po ako, Mr. Sir, sa kanila.
Malapit ka kay? Pakiulit po.
Malapit po ako sa kanila po yung...
Kanino po? Pakibanggit po kung kanino.
Kay Senator, ngayon Senator Bongo po, Mr. Chair.
At kay presidente?
Maaring ganun din po, Mr. Chair.
Maaari ba, Colonel, ano ba ang ginagawa mo para sa kanila? Bakit napakalapit mo sa ating Pangulo at kay Senator Bongo?
Unang-una, Mr. Chair, si Senator Bongo po, na minsan nautusan din po ako nung time na yun, Mr. Chair. Kung ano po ang kailangan nila, kung kaya ko po, at concerning yung pong function ko as CIDG Regional Chief, Mr. Chair.
Pwede mo akong kaming bigyan ng halimbawa na inuutos sa iyo ni dating Pangulo at paano ka nagre-report or vice versa? Paano ka binibigyan ng instructions? Tinatawagan ka ba? Tinitext ka ba? Ini-email ka ba? Paano po, Colonel?
Tinatawagan po ako ni Senator Bongo noon po. Pagka meron lang po mga ipapacheck, meron siyang kailangan information or sometimes meron kailangan i-verify or kung ano man po ang inuutos niya, Mr. Chair.
Ayun ang ibig ko pong sabihin. Ang ibig kong sabihin ay nakakadirekta kang tumawag anytime kay Senator Bongo. Tama ho ba?
Pag may utos po, Mr. Chair, nakakadirekta naman po.
Nakakadirekta po kayo. So ano namang klaseng mga utos, Colonel? Pwede ka bang magbigay ng halimbawa, gaya ng na halimbawa may utos sa'yo, Colonel, pwede bang ganito? Pwede mo akong bigyan ng halimbawa dito sa committee ito?
Halimbawa po, may kailangan siya na information at kaya ko naman pong ibigay. Ibibigay ko po sa kanya. At kung wala akong information, magtatanong po ako doon sa kung saan po yung concern ng kanyang itinatanong or kung ano man po ang gusto niyang malaman, Mr. Chair.
Anong halimbawa itatanong niya? Tatanong niya kung anong bayan yan, kung sinong tao yan, o halimbawa, kung anong lugar yan. Yun ho ba tinatanong sa inyo?
Meron din pong ganoon, Mr. Chair.
So kadalasan, yun po ang ginagawa nyo.
Opo, Mr. Chair.
So ikaw ang nagbabalidate o nagbibigay ng impormasyon na kailangan niya tungkol sa isang tao. Tao, lugar, ganun ba ang ibig nating sabihin dito? At siyempre, kailangan mo ring i-validate ang isang bagay kung ano ang pwedeng may report mo sa ating boss. Tama ho ba, Colonel Leonardo?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Anong pagkakataon na natatandaan mo yung binalidate mo kay Senator?
May mga incident po na tinatanong niya kung halimbawa may insidente po silang dumating na report sa kanila, tapos yung insidente po na yun ay gusto niyang i-validate. Ako naman po ang gagawin ko, minsan tatawag po ako sa mga region na concern po yung information, then ipapasa ko po sa kanya, Mr. Chair.
So meaning to say, tinatanungan ka about sa mga nangyayari, sa mga tao, na halimbawa may namamatay o nahuli during the time, Colonel, tama ho ba?
Ah, meron din po mga ganong pagkakataon, Mr. Chair, pero bibira lang po.
So, ibig mo sabihin na pag may nangyari sa isang lugar, ikaw ang tatawag at i-report mo. Di ba validate mo sa kanya ang nangyayari, Colonel? Ganyan ba?
Halos ganun po, mag-check po ako sa isang kung saan po yung...
Pwede pakiulit, medyo mahina ang boses nyo.
Ganun nga po, Mr. Chair.
Colonel Leonardo, totoo ba yung naririnig ko na kayo ang paymaster?
Hindi naman po, Mr. Chair.
Sino po ang alam niyong paymaster pag halimbawang may na-validate, may nangyari? Sa aking research, parang ikaw ang kilala mo ba kung sino yung nagbabayad?
Wala po akong personal knowledge, Mr. Chair, kung tungkol sa kung anong itinutukoy niya na magbabayad, Mr. Chair.
So, Colonel Leonardo, gusto ko lang idiin ang tanong kay Colonel Leonardo at malinaw na inaamin niya ang nagre-report siya kay Senator Bongo at si Senator Bongo naman ay nagre-report kay President Duterte. So, ibig lang sabihin, malinaw, ang plano na kaya dinala si Colonel Leonardo sa CIDG-11 ay para pakinabangan nila sa pagbibigay ng impormasyon o taga-validate ng mga impormasyon tungkol sa mga nangyayari noong implementasyon ng war on drugs ng past administration, ng Duterte administration. Tama ho ba, Colonel Leonardo?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Pakiulit po. Tama ho ba?
Yes po, Mr. Chair.
Ngayon, ang last question ko po sa iyo, Colonel Leonardo. Nabasa mo itong first affidavit ni Colonel Rohina Karma. At binasa niya ngayon yung pangalawang supplemental supplemental affidavit ni Colonel Garma. May tanong po ako sa inyo. Naniniwala po kayo sa dalawang affidavit ni Colonel Garma at pinatotoo niyo pa na itong lahat sinasabi ni Colonel Garma ay wala kasinungalingan at totoo itong sinasabi niya?
Yes,
Microphone, please.
opo, Mr. Chair. Ito pong paragraph 14 po, Mr. Chair.
So, pinatotohanan mo lahat itong dalawang first affidavit and supplemental affidavit of Colonel Rohina Garma. So, I just want to put on record, Mr. Chairman, that these two affidavits are validated by
Mr. Chairman,
Colonel Leonardo.
who is that person that is whispering to Colonel?
May I know, may I know
What
who
is the
that
personality of
gentleman
that person?
Is he your lawyer, Colonel Leonardo?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
What is his name?
Attorney Aguinaldo Sepnio, Mr. Chair.
Attorney, have you entered your appearance before this committee? Already in the past. You did not change your lawyer. What about the gentleman beside you, attorney? Are you also the lawyer? You belong to the same law firm, I suppose. May I know what's your name, attorney?
Good evening, Your Honors. My name is Attorney Andres B. Manuel Jr.
Attorney Andres.
Yes po.
And did Colonel Leonardo engage your services?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that correct, Colonel Leonardo?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So you have two lawyers with you?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay, sige, salamat. Please continue.
So, yun lang yung aking huling katanungan na yung dalawang affidavit, pinatotoo lang that the two affidavit of Colonel Garma are correct. Tama po lahat ito. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you,
Mr.
Congress-
Chair,
Before, are you going to interpolate
May I?
Congressman
Yes.
Abante? Okay, Congressman Abante, and then Congressman Rog Gutierrez, and then Congressman Lordan Suwan. Please proceed, Congressman Abante.
thank you, Mr. Chair. Colonel Leonardo, I just would like to make a premise of my argument to you, no? Kung maaari ka lang makinig, di ba? Narinig mo na ang ipinahayag ni Colonel Garma tungkol sa kanyang dalawang affidavit. Hindi ko na kinakailangan pang yan ay bigyan ng kaukulang pansin pa. Subalit, for the purpose of clarification, Mr. Chair, Colonel Leonardo, I just would like to make this manifestation before I would ask you a question. Sa wikang Tagalog, ito po ang sinasabi. Ayon sa testimony ni Colonel Garma, sinabi daw ni Presidente Duterte sa kanya na kailangan niya ng isang PNP officer or operative who is a member of the Iglesia ni Cristo, indicating that he needed someone of implementing the war on drugs on a national level, replicating the Davao model. Ang sabi niya, ikaw ay nakasama sa meeting na yan. Itong meeting na ito ay preparatory para sa war on drugs ni Pangulong Duterte. I would like you to know that me personally believe that drugs should not in any way be permeating in this nation. Palagay ko, naniniwala ka rin dyan, di ba? Naniniwala po ako dyan. I believe in the war on drugs. But what I do not believe is when you have to kill more than 20,000 people so that drugs can be stopped. And it did not even stop. Palagay ko, you being a religious person, Colonel Leonardo, naniniwala din po kayo na ayaw nyo ng maraming mga killings. Ano po? Oo. Yan din ang paniwala nyo, di ba? Alright. Ngayon, ito, ang sinabi ng ating Pangulo. Iko-quote ko, ha? Hitler, I quote, Hitler massacred 3 million Jews. That is his quotation at one time. Eh, mali pa nga yung 3 million eh. It is 6 million. Hitler massacred 6 million Jews, as I correct it. At ang sabi niya, there is 3 million drug addicts in the Philippines. There are. I'd be happy to slaughter them. Palagay ko naman, ay hindi ka naniniwala dito sa sinabi ng ating Pangulo na ayaw ko naman na matawag siya na siya ang Hitler ng Pilipinas. Baka sapagat binanggit niya to eh. Am I right? O ito po. Ito na po ang question ko, and this will only be answerable yes or no. I am not going to ask any more explanation, Colonel Leonardo. Sagutin niyo lang ako ng yes or no. Doon sa dalawang affidavit ni Colonel Garma na nabasa mo at napakinggan mo, yan ba ay pinapaniwalaan mo? Yes or no?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Pangalawang tanong, also answer by yes or no. Naniniwala ka ba na merong reward system? Yes or no?
May narinig ako, yes, Mr. Chair.
No. Yes or no lang. Naniniwala ka ba na merong reward system? Yes or no?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Yun lang po ang gusto ko. I rest my case, Mr. Chairman. Sinagot na po ni Colonel Leonardo ang aking mahalagang katanungan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Congressman Abante. The next interpolator is Congressman Rog Gutierrez. You are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, konting katanungan lang po kay Colonel Leonardo. Colonel Leonardo, good evening po, Mr. Chair. Alam ko po, some of these questions were already asked earlier, but given the context of the new affidavit of Ms. Garma, we thought we'd ask you again po, no? So, Colonel Leonardo, can you tell us again, I believe this was asked by Chairman Dan Fernandez earlier, according to the affidavit of Colonel Garma, kayo po ay tinap ng former president to form a special team, no, to replicate the Davao template. Do you confirm this, Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
But according to your statement earlier, contrary to the affidavit of Colonel Garma, hindi po ito natuloy.
Hindi po natuloy, Mr. Chair.
Hindi po natuloy. So in a sense, you admit that there is a Davao template po ba?
Meron po, Mr. Chair, yung ano nga po, Tokhang, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So Tokhang, meron pong Davao template and you were tasked with replicating it nationwide. Nabanggit po ninyo na yung original tasking for, supposedly yung task force is to replicate it Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao. Tama po ba to?
Initially po, ano po kami, nagplano nga pong ganon, Mr. Chair, yung sa task force, na hindi naman po natuloy, Mr. Chair.
Hindi natuloy kasi na-operationalize yung drug war through Operation Double Barrel, Opland Double Barrel. Tama po ba?
Tama po, Mr. Chair.
But despite the existence of Opland Double Barrel, nag-continue pa rin po ba yung inyong task force in some other capacity?
Hindi na po, Mr. Chair, nag-follow po kami kung ano yung national implementation yung nung double barrel, Mr. Chair.
So you were now operating within the terms of Opland Double Barrel. But after that po, no, kasi naalala po natin, nabanggit po sa affidavit ni Colonel Garma, yung meeting po ninyo, which you did not deny, between Class 96 and 97, nangyari sometime in May 2016, just before, after the victory of the incoming administration, but before taking oath noong June 30, tama po ba?
Actually, parang ano po, last week po ng June, Mr. Chair.
Last week of June pala, sorry. So the last week of June, but before assumption po ng administration.
Yes po, Mr. Chair.
Ang nabanggit po sa affidavit ni Colonel Garma na meron po kayo you were already tapped for this task force. May nabanggit na po sanang operational ideas kayo. But after the meeting noong June 2016, may mga pagbabago. Ito na po ba yung sinabi mong hindi natuloy or more on mga operational changes lang po ito?
Yan na po yun, Mr. Chair, hindi na po yun natuloy.
Hindi natuloy. But despite that, Mr. Chair, Colonel Leonardo, shortly after, 1 week after assumption of office of the new administration, nalipat na po kayo sa CIDG 11. Tama po ba?
Tama po, Mr. Chair.
So kayo po ay naging regional chief for CIDG.
Tama po, Mr. Chair.
And I believe natanong na po ito dati, pero as CIDG chief, you would only report to either the chief PNP or the regional director. Tama po ba?
Ulit po, Mr. Chair, na medyo na ano po ako.
As chief ng regional CIDG, you would only report to 1, your chief PNP, and 2, yung regional director po ninyo. Tama po ba?
Tama po, Mr. Chair.
But aside from this, you still have admitted before that you have a personal relation with both with the former president. Tama po ba?
Personally, magkakilala po kami, Mr. Chair.
But of course, tinap na po kayo for the supposed task force. Kahit hindi natuloy, nagkaroon po kayo ng meeting sa Mandalay Hotel po ba yun?
Ano po, Panakan po, Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry.
Panakan po, Panakan, Davao City, Mr. Chair.
So nagka-meeting po kayo. So you're in familiar terms with the former president?
Nagkaroon po kami ng, na-meet lang namin siya, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Dahil courtesy call po yun, Mr. Chair.
Courtesy call, but you admitted earlier that you were tapped for the task force. Kahit hindi natuloy, natap po kayo ng administration. Tama po ba?
Opo, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so given that you were tapped, and then given that you had that meeting, despite po na hindi na operationalize yung iyong task force, you already had that working relationship while you were chief of CIDG 11. Tama po ba?
Tama po, Mr. Chair.
So given that you were already, although again, you were tapped, hindi nag-operationalize yung task force, but since you have that personal relation, would at times the President contact you during your stint as CIDG 11 chief?
Hindi po si former President kumakontak sa akin, Mr. Chair, pag may kailangan sila. Then, Sak Bongo, Mr. Chair.
So si Special Assistant to the President, Bongo, yung nagko-contact po sa inyo?
Opo, Mr. Chair, pagka may kailangan lang po.
And aside from Sak Bongo, as you mentioned earlier, si Chief PNP Bato de la Rosa would also contact you. Tama po ba? Or for any concerns of the President, talagang kay Sak Bongo lang po yan?
Kay Sak Bongo lang po, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Just to clarify also, kapag may concerns yung Presidente, minsan dumadaan po ba ito sa regional chief ninyo, sa PNP? Or talagang...
Minsan po akong tinatawagan, Mr. Chair.
Minsan po tinatawagan. Pero if the President would not course any instructions to the Chief PNP, it's unlikely that the President will course instructions through your regional chief. And what you've admitted just now po, Colonel Leonardo, is that usually through SAP Bongo po yung mga instructions. Now, Mr. Chair, most respectfully, Colonel Leonardo, what kind of instructions po ang dinadaan po through SAP Bongo?
Kung meron lang po siyang gustong itanong, malaman ng mga information, Mr. Chair, minsan po ako po ang nautusan, nanghihingi ng information sa akin, Mr. Chair.
And yung information po na hiningi nila, this is purely confined to Region 11 matters that would concern the CIDG 11. Is that correct?
Usually, tungkol sa Region 11 po, Mr. Chair.
Usually, pero would they ask you concerns, let's say, regarding Luzon, regarding Visayas, or other regions of Mindanao?
Meron din po, pero bihira lang po, Mr. Chair.
Bakit kaya po tinatanong, why would they be asking you if you are CIDG 11 chief, but they would ask you for information other places? Would this somehow be related with the fact na kayo nga po ang tinap for the operationalization of the Drug War Task Force?
Hindi naman po, Mr. Chair. Actually, they can go straight through to the Chief PNP, Mr. Chair. But there are instances, Mr. Chair, na kung kaya naman sa level ko lang po, minsan ako na po nautusan just to check, Mr. Chair, or just to give them information. Kung ano po yung inuutos, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, in your experience po, in your many years in the PNP, is it normal for the President to contact a regional head? Isn't it usually for any concerns that they would have? Sa Chief PNP po, tinatanong?
It's not the President who's contacting me, Mr. Chair. It was only then SAP Bongo, Mr. Chair.
Sorry, just to clarify, Colonel Leonardo, but you mentioned that SAP Bongo would contact you on behalf of the President. Or you have no way to confirm?
Well, I believe, Mr. Chair, may direct contact po sa kay President, Mr. Chair.
Opo. So it would be understandable kasi po siya ay special assistant to the President. So any concerns coming from him would naturally flow from Malacanang. So you would assume that it's from the President. So forgive me for the semantics when I mentioned earlier that the President would contact you, but to be technically, to be specific as you said, so it would be SAP Bongo who would contact you for concerns that may involve the President. Tama po ba?
For concerns that he wanted to know about, Mr. Chair.
And generally, Colonel Leonardo, through the Chair most respectfully, these are drug war-related concerns?
Meron din pong mga information na kailangan, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, just to clarify po, no, kasi nabanggit nga rin naman ni Chair Abante. So you believe that there is a payment and reward scheme. Tama po ba?
Narinig ko lang po, Mr. Chair.
Narinig mo. Have there been any instances when you have been contacted by the leaders? In this case, sabi niyo po, si SAP Bongo, did he ask you to verify anything in relation to either the drug list or a payment of reward scheme?
Meron pong tinatanong sa akin na information about yung mga nasa list. Ako naman po, tatanong po ako sa PNP, Mr. Chair. Pero doon po sa reward, hindi po ako natanong tungkol doon, Mr. Chair.
Nabanggit po earlier, I think it was Congressman Pimentel who was asking you about a certain list of names that were mentioned in the affidavit of Ms. Garma. Nabanggit po dito yung the likes of Romel Bactat, Rodel Serbo, Michael Palma, Lester Berganio, and Peter Parumo. And you confirmed knowing them. Tama po ba, Mr.
Yes,
Chair?
Mr. Chair.
But you deny that this was the team that you tapped even for your temporary task force? Or do you admit na sila nga po ang kinontak ninyo?
Actually, they were part of the plan, but it did not happen, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so they were part of the plan. And when...
Yes, Mr. Chair. Some of them, not all of them, because the other two are just striker, Mr. Chair.
Strikers.
Civilian.
And you admit to having contacted them because they were part of the plan in which you were going to know. So this corroborates the affidavit of Ms. Garma. However, you deny that this was operationalized. You mentioned that upon the assumption of the administration and the operationalization of Oplan Tokhang, hindi po ito natuloy. But how do we account for the fact that Ms. Garma was able to identify them po? Did you at any time inform Ms. Garma of these so-called picks of yours for your team?
I confirm that I actually invited her to join the proposed team, Mr. Chair, but she declined.
Okay, so when you invited her for the proposed team, that's the time that you mentioned to Colonel Garma na ito po ang mga pinili ko nyo for the team, and then ganito yung magiging operational protocol po ninyo, etc., etc. Is that a one-time communication that you had with Colonel Garma when you relayed such to her?
We did not discuss the details, Mr. Chair.
But you discussed the members of the team. Kaya nga nabanggit ni Colonel Garma sa kanyang affidavit, itong members na to.
Yeah, we did not discuss. Perhaps he took it from other source, Mr. Chair.
Well, we will have to accept that as your answer, but it should be noted by this committee that these were actually in the affidavit of Colonel Garma. She specifically mentioned in paragraph 22 that Leonardo informed me that he had recalled several trusted personnel. So on the one hand, we have Colonel Leonardo saying that Colonel Garma got this information through other sources, but on the other hand, we have Colonel Garma confirming that it was Leonardo who informed her. But in either case, it is corroborated that these members, these names that were mentioned, were in fact picked by Colonel Leonardo. That's just a manifestation, Mr. Chair, for consideration of the truthfulness and the totality of the affidavit of Ms. Garma. So in addition to that, it was also mentioned here, Colonel Leonardo, in paragraph 23, that you conveyed to her that the task force will be structured differently and that he submitted a document to Bongo detailing the task force's operations, including an overview of the current drug landscape in the Philippines. Mr. Chair, Colonel Leonardo, do you confirm this portion, that you submitted a plan to SAP Bongo? Or at the time, hindi pa po siya SAP, I think.
We did not submit any proposal, Mr. Chair.
So
It was just a plan, Mr. Chair.
Oh, yun. Not a proposal, but there was a plan. And did you submit this, you indeed submitted this plan to the higher authorities?
We weren't able to do so, Mr. Chair, because there was a plan already for the PNP, Mr. Chair.
The plan for the PNP that existed prior to the assumption of the administration, tama po ba? Because at the time that you had this meeting in June 2016, hindi pa po nakakaupo yung presidente, tama po?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So at the time that you were crafting the plan, how did you know na hindi matutuloy kung wala pa naman Oplan double barrel?
Meron na pong plano yung sa double barrel, Mr. Chair, prior bago pa umupo si Senator then Chief PNP Bato de la Rosa, Mr. Chair.
So Mr. Chair, Colonel Leonardo, saan po dun yung fit supposedly ng proposed task force ninyo? Kung meron ng operation Oplan double barrel that was already being planned even prior to the assumption of the administration, tapos tinap rin po kayo, and I think this is corroborated because on national TV, the former president, although it would have been ideal for him to confirm it here today, but since he's not here, we'll have to take yung media coverage for its word, no? Nabanggit na it was admitted that you were picked because magaling, he trusted you with money, hindi mo gagalawin yung pera, etc., etc. So it corroborates the fact that you were chosen. And you did admit to being chosen for a planned task force, although you're very specific in saying na plano pa lang po. So how do we now reconcile na on one hand, meron na palang plano for Oplan double barrel, but on the other hand, tinap rin po kayo to come up with a proposed task force, which in your testimony, nung withdraw naman kasi mas pinili po yung double barrel. How do we reconcile that po kaya, Colonel Leonardo?
Mr. Chair, nung nagpaplano po kami, bigla nalaman namin na meron na po palang plano para i-implement ni Chief PNP, Mr. Chair.
Mr.
Kaya
Chair,
po, hindi
you
na po
mentioned
natuloy.
nalaman po namin or nalaman na lang namin?
Nalaman po namin, Mr. Chair, kasi I was still nasa NCR po ako noon, Mr. Chair. So it was already conceptualized that the PNP will implement Tokhang similar with that of implementation in Davao during the time of Serbato as Davao City Police Chief, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, sino po kaya yung kasama dyan sa namin? Sino-sino po kayo yung nagpaplano nito na nagulat na nagkaroon ng Oplan double barrel?
Hindi pa po nakakaupo si Chief PNP Bato, Mr. Chair. Meron na po mga nagplano sa hierarchy ng PNP because alam po nila yung model na gusto ni Chief PNP, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Sige po. Mr. Chair, to simplify na lang po, Colonel Leonardo, can you explain to us what were the operational or structural highlights po nung proposed task force po ninyo? Kasi po sa affidavit ni Ms. Garma, Colonel Garma, sorry, May specifics naman po dito kung sino po yung members ninyo, paano po yung financials, paano po yung operations, to an extent. Pero you now mentioned that there was a task force and you admitted to some of the points of Colonel Garma. Pero sinabi po ninyo na, kasi po sa affidavit ni Ms. Garma, Colonel Garma, sorry, may specifics naman po dito kung sino po yung members ninyo, paano po yung financials, paano po yung operations, to an extent. Pero you now mentioned that there was a task force and you admitted to some of the points of Colonel Garma. Pero sinabi po ninyo na, kasi po sa affidavit ni Ms. Garma, Colonel Garma, sorry, may specifics naman po dito kung sino po yung members ninyo, paano po yung financials, paano po yung operations, to an extent. Pero you now mentioned that there was a task force and you admitted to some of the points of Colonel Garma. Pero sinabi po ninyo na, kasi po sa affidavit ni Ms. Garma, Colonel Garma, sorry, may specifics naman po dito kung sino po yung members ninyo, paano po yung financials, paano po yung operations, to an extent. Pero you now mentioned that there was a task force and you admitted to some of the points of Colonel Garma. Pero sinabi po ninyo na, kasi po sa affidavit ni Ms. Garma, Colonel Garma, sorry, may specifics naman po dito kung sino po yung members ninyo, paano po yung financials, paano po yung operations, to an extent. Pero you now mentioned that there was a task force and you admitted to some of the points of Colonel Garma. Pero sinabi po ninyo na, kasi po sa affidavit ni Ms. Garma, Colonel Garma, sorry, may specifics naman po dito kung sino po yung members ninyo, paano po yung financials, paano po yung operations, to an extent. Pero you now mentioned that there was a task force and you admitted to some of the points of Colonel Garma. Pero sinabi po ninyo na, kasi po sa affidavit ni Ms. Garma, Colonel Garma, sorry, may specifics naman po dito kung sino po yung members ninyo, paano po yung financials, paano po yung operations, to an extent. Pero you now mentioned that there was a task force and you admitted to some of the points of Colonel Garma. Pero sinabi po ninyo na, kasi po sa affidavit ni Ms. Garma, Colonel Garma, sorry, may specifics naman po dito kung sino po yung members ninyo, paano po yung financials, paano po yung operations, to an extent. Pero you now mentioned that there was a task force and you admitted to some of the points of Colonel Garma. Pero sinabi po ninyo na, kasi po sa affidavit ni Ms. Garma, Colonel Garma, sorry, may specifics naman po dito kung sino po yung members ninyo, paano po yung financials, paano po yung operations, to an extent. Pero you now mentioned that there was a task force and you admitted to some of the points of Colonel Garma. Pero sinabi po ninyo na, kasi po sa affidavit ni Ms. Garma, Colonel Garma, sorry, may specifics naman po dito kung sino po yung members ninyo, paano po yung financials, paano po yung operations, to an extent. Pero you now mentioned that there was a task force and you admitted to some of the points of Colonel Garma. Pero sinabi po ninyo na, kasi po sa affidavit ni Ms. Garma, Colonel Garma, sorry, may specifics naman po dito kung sino po yung members ninyo, paano po yung financials, paano po yung operations, to an extent. Pero you now mentioned that there was a task force and you admitted to some of the points of Colonel Garma. Pero sinabi po ninyo na, kasi po sa affidavit ni Ms. Garma, Colonel Garma, sorry, may specifics naman po dito kung sino po yung members ninyo, paano po yung financials, paano po yung operations, to an extent. Pero you now mentioned that there was a task force and you admitted to some of the points of Colonel Garma. Pero sinabi po ninyo na, kasi po sa affidavit ni Ms. Garma, Colonel Garma, sorry, may specifics naman po dito kung sino po yung members ninyo, paano po yung financials, paano po yung operations, to an extent. Pero you now mentioned that there was a task force and you admitted to some of the points of Colonel Garma. Pero sinabi po ninyo na, kasi po sa affidavit ni Ms. Garma, Colonel Garma, sorry, may specifics naman po dito kung sino po yung members ninyo, paano po yung financials, paano po yung operations, to an extent. Pero you now mentioned that there was a task force and you admitted to some of the points of Colonel Garma. Pero sinabi po ninyo na, kasi po sa affidavit ni Ms. Garma, Colonel Garma, sorry, may specifics naman po dito kung sino po yung members ninyo, paano po yung financials, paano po yung operations, to an extent. Pero you now mentioned that there was a task force and you admitted to some of the points of Colonel Garma. Pero sinabi po ninyo na, kasi po sa affidavit ni Ms. Garma, Colonel Garma, sorry, may specifics naman po dito kung sino po yung members ninyo, paano po yung financials, paano po yung operations, to an extent. Pero you now mentioned that there was a task force and you admitted to some of the points of Colonel Garma. Pero sinabi po ninyo na, kasi po sa affidavit ni Ms. Garma, Colonel Garma, sorry, may specifics naman po dito kung sino po yung members ninyo, paano po yung financials, paano po yung operations, to an extent. Pero you now mentioned that there was a task force and you admitted to some of the points of Colonel Garma. Pero sinabi po ninyo na, Kasi po sa affidavit ni Ms. Garma, Colonel Garma, sorry, may specifics naman po dito kung sino po yung members ninyo, paano po yung financials, paano po yung operations, to an extent. Pero you now mentioned that there was a task force and you admitted to some of the points of Colonel Garma. Pero sinabi po ninyo na, kasi po sa affidavit ni Ms. Garma, Colonel Garma, sorry, may specifics naman po dito kung sino po yung members ninyo, paano po yung financials, paano po yung operations, to an extent. Pero you now mentioned that there was a task force and you admitted to some of the points of Colonel Garma. Pero sinabi po ninyo na, kasi po sa affidavit ni Ms. Garma, Colonel Garma, sorry, may specifics naman po dito kung sino po yung members ninyo, paano po yung financials, paano po note of is that although Colonel Leonardo mentioned that the task force did not push through, despite his being a regional chief for CIDG 11, he was still contacted for other matters despite upon assumption of the administration. Kahit na po siya ay CIDG 11 chief, he was still contacted by SAP Bongo for concerns that might be outside of CIDG 11. These are some things we might have to consider, Mr. Chair, as we push through this inquiry. Anyway, with that, I'll be concluding my line of questioning. Maraming salamat, Colonel Leonardo. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Congressman Gutierrez. Now we'd like to recognize Congressman Dan Fernandez.
Ano lang ako, konti lang po ako. Kasi na-confirm na rin naman ni former Commissioner
You have 5 minutes.
Leonardo na may reward system. And dito sa tanong kanina ni SDS Gonzales, Don Gonzales, tinatanong niya kanina kung Colonel Leonardo, sige, nguya ka muna, kaya ka muna. Okay ka na? Tinatanong niya kung paymaster ka and you answer in the negative, di ba? Correct. So, kung hindi ka ang paymaster, no? Para saan? Yeah, yes. The right word is merong secretariat. Yung, kumbaga, parang it is what do you call that? A central command wherein there is a secretariat na doon tatawag for the reward money. Have you heard about the word secretariat na centralized?
May narinig lang po ako, Mr. Chair, pero ganun din po, wala po akong personal knowledge.
Okay, dito po sa affidavit ni Miss Rohina Garma, binabanggit niya dito yung sa second affidavit, a certain personality. Ang name po niya is Sunny Buenaventura, who have given her a reward money for a certain debt in the amount of 20,000. Meron ka rin bang nabalita tungkol dito sa kay Sunny Buenaventura about giving this reward money?
Wala po akong, hindi po ako na-assign kasi ng local. Hindi ko po masiguro yan, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I think, I don't know if we have invited already this person, no? Si Sunny Buenaventura, but meron na tayong show cause order kay Sunny Buenaventura. And there is also a certain Sergeant Suwan who gave also 20,000 to Ms. Rohina Garma for certain accomplishment. Also, a payment was given also. Have we invited also? Yes, Madam.
Mr. Chair, namatay na po yan. He was shot sometime parang 2021 po.
So namatay na si Sergeant Suwan.
Opo.
How about si Boy Alce?
Namatay na rin po, illness po. Cancer.
Okay. But si Muking ay boy pa. Si Muking we have already invited also, no? And cited motion for show cause order ata. Show cause order na tayo. Okay. Miss Garma, siguro si Miss Garma naman tanongin ko. Kasi dito sa affidavit mo, may nakalagay dito na your first appointment sa Davao Police Office, 1999 pa. Excuse me. January 1999, you were appointed as Chief of Women's Desk sa Davao Police Office. Is this correct?
That was my second assignment with Davao City Police Office, Mr. Chair.
What was your first assignment?
1997, August, HRDD, and then by October of 1997, team leader of the anti-vice.
Yes, it was here. So, nung after your graduation, nung 1997 August, na-assign ka sa Davao City, sa administration of Mayor
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Rodrigo Roa Duterte. At noong 1997 October, appointed ka naman as team leader of the anti-vice unit.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
At noong January 1999, hindi na si Digong ang presidente. Ang mayor.
I think, yes, Mr.
Si Ben de Guzman
Yes,
ang
Mr.
mayor.
Chair. Yes.
So in other words, naandun ka na sa Davao for so many years.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
At doon mo nabalitaan yung tinatawag na Davao Death Squad. Because you were there since 1997, 1998, 1999. And when you were assigned sa SASA as Commander of Santa Ana Police Station from 2012 to 2016, that is 4 years. 4 na taon ka sa SASA.
Almost 4 years, Mr. Chair. It's just 3 years and 6 months, I think.
So in other words, matagal ka na rin talaga sa Davao na na-assign sa different positions.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
At dito mo sinasabi sa iyong affidavit, yung mga nasaksihan mo na mga pagpatay sa iba't ibang klase ng mga tao implicated in different crimes with certain amount given after the job was done.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, at Mr. Chairman, andito po lahat yun. Nagnakaw, akyat bahay, yung mga binabanggit po dito sa affidavit ni Ms. Garma. And amount of 20,000 was given by those personalities that you have mentioned here. And there was also in your affidavit about the 5,000 that are being given every month para sa reimbursement naman na
Yes.
binibigay ni Yusek Muking.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So, basically, Mr. Chairman, this is the pattern that was done in the Davao City during the time of the then Mayor Rodrigo Roa Duterte. And, ito yung nakikita natin na nangyayari sa buong bansa. And we need these personalities, Muking and si Pedro Parungo, to be here in the next hearing, Mr. Chairman. So, for the meantime, Mr. Chairman, yun po muna at maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Congressman Dan Fernandez. Just a short question lang para kay Colonel Leonardo. Colonel Leonardo, I recall that during the time when President Duterte called all the alleged scalawags in the Philippine National Police, hindi ba nagpatawag siya ng isang meeting sa Malacanang? Sa Malacanang ba yun? Colonel Leonardo?
Sorry, Mr. Chair.
Yan, mabigat yan. Wawa naman, kumakain muna. Sigarma muna, tanongin mo para.
Sige.
Mr. Chair,
Hindi po ba nung naging presidente ang ating dating Pangulo, in one occasion, he was seen on TV na nagagalit sa mga pulis na allegedly ay involved sa recycling of drugs. Ito yung mga ninja cops na binabanggit mo kanina. Tama po ba yan? Na nagpatawag siya ng meeting?
I believe mga scalawag sa rogues cap po yun, mga...
So yung mga rogue members
rogue
ng PNP, pinatawag ni former President Duterte sa Malacanang. Tama, no?
Napanood ko lang po, Mr. Chair, pero wala po akong personal.
So wala ka doon.
Wala po ako, Mr. Chair.
During that time, where were you assigned?
CIDG 11 lang po ako, Mr.
So CIDG 11 ka na. And you know, nung pinatawag ni dating Pangulong Duterte ang mga scalawags na ito, sinermonan niya ito. Kasama niya si then Chief PNP Bato de la Rosa, tama?
Parang nandun po, Mr. Chair. Napanood ko lang po sa TV, Mr. Chair.
And nandun din yata si General Oka Albayalde. Kung if I remember correctly, dun sa screen grab o yung news na yon, nakita ko na nandun yung mga nakapila, yung mga pulis na mga scalawags at sinabi, at tinapon sila lahat sa Mindanao. Is that correct?
Parang gano'n po, parang nire-assign. I'm not sure, Mr. Chair, kung saan po pinadala, Mr. Chair.
So you have no idea kung saan pinadala?
Napanood ko lang po, Mr. Chair, sa ano yan.
Kaya ako natanong kasi sa iyo yan dahil ang pagkakaintindi ko, ayon sa salaysay ni Colonel Garma, na ikaw ang overall o sentro. Ikaw ang nasa sentro nitong implementation ng Oplan Tokhang at saka double barrel. And part of the policy or the program is to discipline yung mga scalawags o yung mga rogue PNP members. Hindi ba kasama yan sa polisiya ng war on drugs?
Kasali po, Mr. Chair.
So kapag kaganyan, halimbawa, ikaw ay scalawag, identified ka na scalawag, tinatransfer ka. In fact, maraming Mindanawan ang nagre-reklamo, bakit sa Mindanao tinatapon? Kung di rin ako nagkakamali, nung sila ay tinapon doon, nagkaroon pa ng insidente ng patayan. Do you recall and remember those incidents na nangyari sa Mindanao? Na kung saan yung mga itinapon ng mga scalawags namatay doon sa Mindanao, kung saan sila na-assign.
Mr. Chair, I have no any particular information regarding that, Mr. Chair. It's,
But you know that there were scalawags that were reassigned from their original post or units, tinapon sila somewhere in Mindanao. You're aware of that?
Meron pong ganon, Mr. Chair.
Would you be able to give us an estimate kung ilang number ng PNP scalawags ang itinapon papunta doon sa Mindanao?
Mr. Chair, wala po akong idea or data na hawak tungkol po dyan, Mr. Chair.
Well, kasi kanina, ang aking impression, ikaw ang binigyan ng task na ayusin yung mga ninja cops o disiplinahin itong mga ninja cops, no? And based on your story kanina when I was asking you, nakatutok ka doon sa pagdidisiplina nitong mga scalawags na ito na tinatawag mo nga kanina, ninja cops, ninja liit, bangketa cops, etc. etc. So hindi mo alam na tinransfer itong mga ito outside of their present assignments, transferred to another area in Mindanao. Hindi mo alam yun.
Meron po akong narinig na tinransfer pero wala po akong data. Alam ko po na merong mga transfer na naganap, Mr. Chair.
And sa pagkakalam mo, kaya sila tinransfer dahil
I think to stop them from doing what they're doing during
I did not hear you. I'm sorry. Pakiulit mo.
to stop them from doing what they're doing during that time, Mr. Chair, to prevent them
from continuing
ordering their illegal activities,
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
So, in other words, they were transferred in order for the organization to discipline them and prevent them from continuing their shenanigans. Tama?
Tama po, Mr. Chair.
O, dahil ganun, meron bang nakasuhan?
Again, Mr. Chair, wala po akong data kung ilan ang nakasuhan or meron.
So, hindi ikaw ang nasa sentro ng pagdisiplina sa ating mga scalawags, kung ganun. Dahil wala kang alam eh.
Hindi po, Mr. Chair. Hindi po ako yung sentro na magdidisiplina sa mga... Hindi ko po kaya yun, Mr. Chair. I can only gather information po, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Intelligence operation, yan lang po.
Ayon din sa salaysay ni Colonel Garma, ikaw ay parang nandoon sa sentro, no? Dahil pagka nagbe-verify kung meron bang nangyaring insidenteng napatay, ikaw ang tinatawagan, hindi ba? Is that correct? Sa iyo nagbe-verify.
Hindi naman po lahat. Meron lang pong instances na ipapa-verify sa akin, Mr. Chair. Yun lang.
May mga instances na nagpapa-verify sa iyo. Pwede bang malaman kung sino nagpapa-verify sa iyo?
Gaya ng sinabi ko, minsan po magtatanong sa akin si Den Sap Bongo.
Sino?
Den Sap Bongo po, Mr. Chair.
Sap Bongo.
Opo.
And then,
Halimbawa, meron pong nangyari, itatanong lang sa akin, anong background nito? Parang ganun, Mr. Chair. Ako naman po, hingi ako ng report, then bibigay ko lang po sa kanya. Yun lang po ang ginagawa.
at pagkatapos niya ma-verify, anong sunod na hakbang ang ginagawa ninyo?
Hanggang doon lang po, Mr. Chair. Ako po, tatanungin ko lang po yung region kung meron silang report. Or hingi lang po ako ng report.
Pero kanina kasi, sinabi mo at pinatutuhanan mo yung salaysay ni Colonel Garma na there was a reward money in the implementation of the war on drugs. Sinabi mo yung kanina at sabi mo naniniwala ka at sinasabi mo rin na totoo yung reward money at naririnig mo. Although, hindi mo sinabing ikaw ay nakatanggap ng reward money. Hindi ka ba nakatanggap ng reward money?
Hindi po, Mr. Chair.
Never?
Never po, Mr. Chair.
Never? So, kung naniniwala ka na merong reward money, saan ba maaaring nanggagaling itong reward money na ito? Sa iyong opinion. In your expert opinion as a seasoned police officer who is in the thick of the fight against illegal drugs, sa tingin mo, saan nanggagaling itong iyong reward money na sinasabi?
Mr. Chair, hindi ko po alam yung kung sa...
Hindi mo alam kung saan nanggagaling pero naniniwala ka na merong reward money.
Narinig ko lang po, Mr. Chair, yung about sa reward money.
Pwede bang ikwento mo sa amin paano mo narinig? At ilang beses mo narinig kung totoong narinig mo lang?
Actually, Mr. Chair, narinig ko lang po sa mga...
Kanino mo narinig?
Sa mga, ano rin po, mga pulis din po na mga kasama ko, Mr. Chair.
So in other words, dahil narinig mo siya sa mga pulis na mga kasama mo rin, ang ibig sabihin, may katotohanan na meron talagang reward money. Kaya may kasabihan, if there is smoke, there is fire. Naniniwala ka ba sa ganon, Colonel?
Ano po? Ano? Pakiulit po.
Wala naman kasing lalabas na kwento, gaya ng nabanggit mo, na naririnig mo. Sabi mo, naririnig mo. Tinanong kita, ikaw ba'y nakatanggap ng reward money? Sabi mo, hindi. Ikaw ba may narinig? Sabi mo, oo. Dahil ikaw mismo nakarinig mula din sa mga kasama mong mga membro ng PNP. Tama?
Kwento-kwentuhan lang po, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Kung kwento-kwento lang yan, kanino kaya, pakisabi mo nga sa amin kung kaninong kwento mo narinig yan?
Actually, yung passing na mga kwento lang po, Mr. Chair.
Kasi hindi ka panipaniwala na hindi mo alam na merong reward money because may kasabihan, no? If there is smoke, there is fire. Sang-ayon ka ba sa ganon?
Opo, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Ngayon, dahil alam mong merong reward money at hindi mo naman ito dininay, in fact, nung tinanong ka, pinatotohanan mo na ang sinabi ni Colonel Garma ay may katotohanan. Although, wala kang experience dahil ito'y naririnig mo lamang. Tama?
Opo, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Now, would you have any idea and can you educate us, kami, no? Doon sa area where maraming pulis o membro ng PNP ang namatay. No? Karamihan sa kanila ay napatay ng riding in tandem. Iba ang balita, ang haka-haka ay napatay sila ng kapwa pulis din nila. No? Bakit kaya nagkakaroon ng ganong klaseng krimen na kung saan pulis ang sunod-sunod na namamatay? Ano sa iyong palagay?
Mr. Chair, tungkol po sa namamatay na pulis.
Yes. Bakit kaya maraming pulis na namamatay?
Actually, wala po akong data niyan, Mr. Chair. Naririnig ko lang din po, Mr. Chair. may mga
Maaring
insidente
wala
din.
kang accurate statistics kung ilan yan, pero hindi lingid sa iyong kaalaman na meron pong mga pulis na pinapatay. Hindi ba?
Opo,
And
Mr. Chair.
I believe na itong mga napapatay na pulis ay may kinalaman o mayroong involvement o mayroong kaugnayan sa mga illegal na mga gawain, kagaya ng illegal drugs. Hindi ba?
Meron pong ganun,
Therefore, dahil may mga civilian, pusher and user na mamatay na involved sa droga, meron din pong namamatay na mga membro ng PNP because of drugs o may involvement o kaugnayan sa droga. Ano ang maaaring conclusion na pwede nating isipin noong mga panahon na yon?
meron po talaga mga ganong incident, Mr. Chair.
Merong?
May mga ganong incident po, Mr. Chair.
I know. Kasi napapanood mo sa TV, sa news, nababasa mo sa dyaryo, nakikita mo sa social media. Hindi naman tinatago yun. In fact, magugulat ka sa dami. But when I ask you kung alam mo kung gaano karami, mukhang hindi mo alam kung ilan yung exact number. The reason why I'm asking this, Colonel, kasi ayon sa salaysay ni Colonel Garma, ikaw ang nasa sentro nitong implementasyon ng gera kontra sa droga. Sibilyan ito, pero kung titingnan natin yung records, sila ay merong kinalaman sa illegal drugs. And pardon my ignorance, if I will conclude what I read, what I saw, and what I heard, I would probably say na ikaw ang utak ng lahat ng ito. At kung meron dapat managot, walang iba kundi ang utak. That's why I'm saying, pardon my ignorance. Kasi ito yung aking wala ho akong makuhang tamang basihan sa sinasabi nyo na wala kayong kinalaman. So, ayan, Colonel Leonardo, sa aking palagay, ay marami pa hong dapat patunayan natin tungkol sa kaugnayan ninyo dito sa sinasabi nating war on drugs, which resulted, unfortunately, to extrajudicial killings, either intentionally or accidentally. So, yun lang ang aking opinion. Now, may tatanong din ako kay Colonel Garma. Colonel Garma, ano bang nag-udyok sa'yo na ikaw ay magbigay ulit ng supplemental affidavit? Meron bang nag-pressure sa'yo?
Wala pong nag-pressure, Mr. Chair.
Wala
I'm
bang
just
pumilit sa'yo?
Wala po, Mr.
Walang
Chair.
nagtumakot sa'yo?
Wala po.
Ito ay buong puso mong ginawa dahil sa iyong kagustuhan na maglabas ng katotohanan. Tama po ba?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, sa inyong experience bilang Chief of Police ng SASA, no?
Yes, yes, Mr.
Under
Chair.
your watch, would you still remember kung ilan yung namatay? Under your watch.
Hindi ko na po maalala, pero definitely more than 4 siguro po.
And all these deaths ay may investigasyon o may report kayo.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Kasi automatic naman yun. Basta
Yes.
may death o merong insidente, may report naman kaagad
Yes,
yan.
sir.
Di ba?
Napaprocess din po ng SOCO.
What about, do you have any information as to the scalawags in your jurisdiction? Meron ka bang kilala na considered to be a rogue PNP member or a scalawag?
Mr. Chair, during my time as station commander, yung pong mga pulis na inaayawan po ng station commander, sa akin po ina-assign. Napapatino naman po.
Bakit kaya sila inaayawan sa ibang station commander?
Matitigas po yung ulo kasi, Mr. Chair.
So, in other words, yung matitigas na ulo ng mga PNP members, ito po yung mga lalaki.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ang nagpapalambot sa kanila ay babae. Ang ibig sabihin, nagpapalambot ng ulo. Kasi matitigas ang ulo kanyo eh. Hindi po ba?
Basta, Mr. Chair, yun po yung naging, parang naging kasanayan po sa unit na pag walang may gusto from schooling, bumabalik po sa Davao City at walang may gustong kumuha, sa akin po nilalagay po lahat ng mga pulis na may problema po.
At tumitino naman.
Napapaayos naman
Kapag
po,
sinabi
Mr.
niyong may
Chair.
problema, ano ho kaya ang problema nila? Sila ba ay extortionist? Sila ba ay nagre-recycle ng droga? Yung ba ang ibig mong sabihin, Colonel?
Hindi naman po. Yun po yung nag-absent lang po. Minsan hindi po maayos magtrabaho. Ganun po.
Okay. Nabanggit nyo sa inyong unang sinumpaang salaysay na merong reward money. Di
Yes,
po ba?
Mr. Chair.
Kayo ba'y nakatanggap ng reward money?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Pwede bang malaman magkano iyong natanggap? At kung bakit ka nabigyan ng reward money?
20,000 lang po yung
Para sa anong reward yon? Anong accomplishment yon?
pag pong namatay po yung involved sa illegal activity po.
Ito ang sinasabi mo, ang pusher.
Pusher or other criminals po na habitual or recidivist, meron din po binibigay po kung
Basta patay.
yes, Mr. Chair.
So kung hindi patay, bawa tinamaan lang, walang premyo yon, walang cash reward yon.
Wala po, Mr. Chair.
So yun ang sinasabi nyo na reimbursement lang ng operational expense.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Now, who determines, as to your, sa iyong experience, who determines kung sino ang dapat mamatay?
Wala pa, Mr. Chair, kung minsan hindi naman napaplano kasi result siya ng police operation and nababalita naman po sa news. So, automatic, tatanungin lang naman, sa area mo ba yan, ma'am? O, sir, sa area mo ba to? Tatanungin yung background nung namatay. Yun lang po ang determination.
And then,
But as far as...
so ang ibig sabihin, kahit to, walang kinalaman ang pulis, basta may namatay sa area nyo, may reward yon.
Hindi naman po, i-validate, i-confirm naman po
So
ng
you have
territorial
to-
police.
You have to tell the person that is validating the incident that kayo ang gumawa nun.
Ganun po,
So
it is an
kailangan
encounter
aminin
sa
nyo
police.
na kayo ang nag-operate at kayo ang nakapatay doon, kaya para kayo ay may reward.
Ganun po yung sistema, Mr. Chair.
Sa buong karir mo sa PNP, Colonel Garma, how many times have you received a reward money?
Parang 3 o 4 na beses lang po yun, Mr. Chair.
So pagka nakakatanggap ka ba, ito'y binabahagi mo rin sa iyong mga kasamahan? O para sa iyo lang yon?
Binibigay ko diretso dun sa mga nag-operate po, Mr.
Doon
Chair.
sa mga nag-operate. Yung
Yes,
baga,
Mr. Chair.
yung trigger man.
Team kasi when they move, like, ngayon araw na to, ito yung team ng operatives, ganun po. And then, ganun po ang ginagawa ko po.
So ang reward is shared by, mabuti kung lahat ng hepe kagaya mo. Di ba? Sinishare ka nyo. Sabi mo, sinishare mo, binibigay mo sa operatiba.
Yes, Mr.
Di
Chair.
ba? At don't you think that particular gesture encourages them more to kill? Parang
Yes, possible po, Mr. Chair, but minsan po nakikita ko rin na during legitimate operation yung takot nila. Kasi there are really times talaga na actual encounter shootout talaga, sir.
Okay. So talagang
And,
di naman natin sinasabi na walang encounter, na walang nanglaban. Kasi gaya nga ng lagi natin sinasabi, basta drug lord, hindi naman magpapahuli ng buhay yan. Lalaban yan. What is appalling is the fact that people who die are the street peddlers of drugs. Ito yung mga small-time pusher. Ito yung mga small-time users. Kaya nakakalungkot eh. Diba? Buhay yung mga drug lord na nagbebenta at nagdadala ng droga, patay yung mga nagbebenta ng droga para sa kanila. And to me, just like what I shared in my opinion with Colonel Leonardo, my opinion also is that because you were complicit in granting rewards, it now inspired the operatives and other rogue police officers to do more so that they can earn more. Yun ang nakakalungkot na ano dito sa usapin, dito sa war on drugs na ito. Hindi po natin sinasabing hindi maganda ito. Maraming achievements. Ang war on drugs ito. Ang hindi maganda ay marami ring namamatay. Because we don't want the country to be perceived as the extrajudicial capital of Asia. Extrajudicial killing capital of Asia. EJK. Nakakalungkot kung ganun ang ating sitwasyon. Kaya, Colonel Garma, I'm sure, hindi ka magsasawang magbigay ulit ng affidavit dahil wala namang limit yung pagbibigay ng katotohanan sa investigasyong ito. So, that's it for me for now. Congressman Acop, you're the next interpolator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And before I proceed to the issue at hand, may I ask NAPOLCOM, yung po bang administrative cases doon sa Baybay Leyte Detention Center on appeal?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes,
Yung administrative aspect of the case.
yes, sir. Yes, Your Honor. Yes, sir.
Ang nag-appeal sila
Sila po. Sila po.
na dapat hindi ma-demote. Ganun po ba?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, would it be true if the administrative case is on appeal, it means that the case is reopened altogether
Yes, Your
and
Honor.
heavier penalties can be meted out?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
It can be done that way, sir.
Depending on the pieces of evidence that would be submitted or gathered.
Yes, Your Honor.
So pwedeng hindi sila ma-demote, pwedeng dapat sila ma-dismiss from the service.
Yes, Your Honor. As soon as we get the records from the NBI, it can corroborate the existing evidence, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice Chair. Colonel Garma, na-mention po niyo sa inyong affidavit, first affidavit, na pinatawag kayo po ni former President Duterte, May of 2016. And ang requirement niya, ihanap mo siya ng opisyal na membro ng INC who is a good intelligence officer. Tama po ba?
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. Chair.
Would you know if yung sinamit mong pangalan nag-report kay former President Duterte?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. And
Yes.
sino po yung opisyal na yun? Nirekomenda po ninyo?
Colonel Leonardo po, Mr. Chair.
And before I proceed further, Colonel Garma, tumawag na po ba sa iyo si former President Duterte?
Tumawag po.
Tumawag? Tumawag na po ba siya sa iyo?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
How many times?
Once po, Mr. Chair.
Ano po ang pinag-usapan ninyo kung po pwedeng malaman?
He explained to me yung pong pinaintindi niya sa akin kung bakit Iglesia ni Cristo yung pinahanap po niya, Mr. Chair.
Okay. And Colonel Leonardo, kayo po ang in-endorse ni Colonel Garma kay Presidente. Did you have a meeting with the President in July of 2016?
Actually, na-meet ko po siya last week of June, Mr. Chair.
Ha?
Na-meet ko po,
No, did you have a meeting after Colonel Garma has endorsed your name to the former President that you met with the President sometime in July 2016?
ang pagkakalam ko po, Mr. Chair, last week of June, Mr. Chair.
Hindi ba last week of May? Tinetesting ko lang yung kung magsasabi ka ng totoo. Alam ko naman na last week of May yung meeting ninyo eh. And you're not forthright with your answer. Ang meeting ninyo kay Presidente last week of May. Di ba? Tama?
Ay, check po, parang may ano po, may meeting po kami na ano, may din po, Mr. Chair.
Nung ikaw ay nag-meet with the President, sino po ang kasama nyo?
Actually po, mga officers po, Mr. Chair. Mga
Ano po?
Officers po ng PNP.
Sino po?
Officers po ng PNP, Mr. Chair. As far as I can recall, Mr. Chair.
With the President.
Opo, Mr. Chair.
Ang sabi mo noon, yung class ninyo, hindi nakipag-usap kay Presidente.
Ako lang po yun, Mr. Hindi po yung class namin. Yung sinasabi nyo na may na nag-meet kami, Mr. Chair.
Hindi ba, Colonel Garma, ang sabi mo, sometime in May, doon ka na pinatawag ni Presidente, di ba? At sinabi mo yung pangalan ni Colonel Leonardo.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes. And a meeting took place dahil kailangan ka ni Presidente eh. Sinabi na nga ng pangalan mo ni Colonel Garma eh. Tapos i-deny mo na nakipag-meet ka na kay Presidente in May of 2016.
Opo, Mr. Chair, May.
Yes.
Pero ako lang po, wala pong ibang kasama.
Huwag kang magsinungaling sa akin. Baka i-charge pa kita ng perjury. You met with the President with some people. And may I know the topic? Ano yung topic ng inyong pag-uusap ni Mr. President o former President?
Actually, Mr. Chair, ano lang po kami, ako po, nandun lang, Mr. Chair, parang, ganun lang din po, parang, nagpakita lang po, Mr. Chair. Hindi naman po talaga meeting, hindi naman po ako kasali sa mga meeting noon, Mr. Chair.
Ibig mong sabihin, hinanap ka ni Mr. President, former President, para lang i-meet ka?
Opo, Mr.
Yun
Chair.
lang po. Ano? You want me to believe that? Nag-meet kayo dahil naghahanap siya ng isang opisyal na tutulong sa kanya sa kanyang implementation of the war on drugs. Di ba tama?
Actually, hindi naman po yun ang pinag-usapan namin, Mr. Chair. Basta nag-meet lang kami.
Hindi yun ang pinag-usapan ninyo. I'm giving you a second chance, Colonel Leonardo. You better tell the truth to me. Kasi baka may demanda pa kita ng another offense. Di ba? Noong last na kwan, sinasabi mo na dapat ang implement ay yung Davao template doon sa previous hearings natin. Di ba?
Opo, Mr. Chair.
Yes. And may I know, Colonel Garma, what do you understand by the Davao template insofar as the war on drugs is concerned?
The payments and rewards po, Mr. Chair.
Huh?
Rewards and payments po
There is a reward for what?
for successful neutralization of
Neutralization?
drug suspects.
And when you say neutralization, it means the killing?
Can be, Mr. Chair, a legitimate operation or
In your
Yes.
affidavit, you answered the lead chair, the Honorable Barbers, that you received three times monetary reward in the amount of 20,000. Hindi po ba?
yes, Mr. Chair,
And for what is that?
for the death of the suspects, Mr.
So,
Chair.
you're admitting to this committee na talaga yung Davao template would involve the neutralization of drug suspects And there are rewards for such.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Hindi mo malalaman ito, Colonel Leonardo, because you were never a station commander in Davao City, di ba?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes. That's why hindi kita tinanong dito. Ang tanong ko sa iyo, pinatawag ka ni former President so that you will be able to help him implement the war on drugs on a national level using the Davao template. Hindi ba? Sinabi mo na nga doon sa last hearing natin yan eh.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Now, may I know, do you know when Gerald De La Rosa became the chief NP?
July 2016, Mr. Chair.
July of
Of 2016.
2016.
Opo, Mr.
Now, when did Gerald Ferro become the AIDG of the Philippine National Police?
I'm not sure po kung...
It's also July of 2016. Tama? Tanungin mo si Colonel Cunanan para may research niya kaagad. July of 2016. Now, when did General La Peña became the PDEA head?
I guess same pong
Same.
July din po yata, Mr. Chair.
Pare-parehas, di ba? Yung AIDG, Anti-Illegal Drug, ng Philippine National Police, Gerald Ferro, yung PDEA, si Gerald La Peña, and Chief PNP, si Gerald De La Rosa. Tama?
Tama po, Mr. Chair.
Yes. And it was during that time na nagrekomenda ka ng task force which hindi natuloy.
Actually, hindi ko po na-recommend, Mr. Chair. June, ano pa lang, June, last week of June, hindi na po, kasi meron na pong i-implement na double barrel, Mr. Chair.
Yung double barrel, kalahati nun, yung Oplan Tukhang, yun yung ginagawa sa Davao. Tama?
Tama po, Mr. Chair.
Oo, kasi nung plinano ni Gerald De La Rosa yung Oplan double barrel, dinagdag niya yung high value targets.
Tama po, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Now, would you agree with me, Colonel Garma, na doon sa implementation ng Oplan Tukhang and Oplan high-value targets, when the target does not resist the arrest, they would still be killed or neutralized and to be justified as nanlaban with guns and drugs planted on their bodies? Would you agree with that?
Mr. Chair, can I explain my answer, Mr. Chair?
Okay.
If you read the results of the investigation or look at the result of the scene of the crime operations, makikita mo po na parang magda-doubt ka kung lumaban ba or hindi yung suspect.
So you agree with my statement?
Sometimes, Mr. Chair.
That's also the findings of the human rights groups. Kaya tinatanong ko lang kayo kung naniniwala ka. Now, Colonel Leonardo, would you believe that also?
Meron po akong mga narinig na mga ganong case, Mr. Chair.
Narinig mo lang. And therefore,
Napanood.
you do not believe the investigations conducted by the human rights group?
Meron pong nangyayaring ganon, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you for that. Now, the drug list, it was made in July of 2016, tama? Galing sa Philippine National Police. Would that be correct, Colonel Leonardo?
I believe so, Mr. Chair.
You believe so? PDEA, that would be correct also?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
That was in July of 2016.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, after the list has been submitted, it has been observed that there were numerous extrajudicial killings. Would you agree with me, Colonel Garma?
Mr. Chair, yung nga po, sabi ko, kung tignan mo po yung result na SOCO, basahin mong report, it is possible. Meron po. Meron.
Hindi. What I'm asking is, after the list, the first list has been made, biglang dumami yung extrajudicial killing, according to statistics.
Statistics won't lie, Mr. Chair. Numbers won't lie,
Numbers
Mr.
won't
Chair.
lie. So you agree with my statement. How about Colonel Leonardo? Would you agree with me that after the submission of the list, there were numerous extrajudicial killings?
Meron po, Mr. Chair.
Meron. And maybe this is because of the pronouncement of the former president and the monetary operational support fund. Di ba? Would you agree? Na kaya dumami nito dahil doon sa pronouncement ng ating presidente noon at saka doon sa monetary or operational reward, fund reward. Tama. Kaya lumakas ang nagka-interest sa mga pulis. Would you agree?
I don't have personal knowledge, Mr. Chair.
You don't have personal knowledge. You don't have to have personal knowledge. Tignan mo lang yung mga pronouncement noon. At saka yung, in-admit nyo na nga na may reward eh. Tapos kailangan pa ang personal knowledge. How about PDEA? Would you agree with that? Now, there was rampant EJ case after the first list was made.
That was the indication, Your Honor.
Yes, kasi August pa lang, ang dami lang namatay. Now, and would you agree with me also, Colonel Garma, Colonel Leonardo, that abuses came about because of the monetary reward? Ang reason nanlaban, natokhang, or naplantingan. Di ba? Lumabas yung mga terminologies na yan sa ating kapulisan. Would you agree with me na there were abuses using these terminologies, nanlaban, natokhang, at saka naplantingan?
I believe so, Mr. Chair.
Would you also agree with that, Colonel Garma?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And PDEA, would you agree with that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, kasi nandun naman yung mga statistics eh. Now, ang pinag-aawayan natin ay si Colonel Leonardo, ayaw niyang diretsahin tanggapin merong levels of reward. And Colonel Garma, would you admit na merong levels of reward depende dun sa nano-neutralize?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes. PDEA, would you agree na merong levels of reward? Kasi narinig ko na rin ito sa report ninyo eh.
Yes,
According
Mr.
to
Chairman.
your research.
Yes, Your Honor.
And only you, Colonel Leonardo, cannot directly admit na merong levels of reward. Bakit kaya?
Meron po yung level yung mga nasa list, Mr. Chair.
So you're admitting that may levels of reward and may reward system.
sir-
If there are rewards, then there will be a reward system. Tama po ba?
Ang alam ko po, operational support, Mr. Chair.
Call it what you want. Pero kagaya ng sinabi ko kanina, yung reward, yung monetary reward or operational support. Di ba?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Meron bang operational support na hindi monetary? Sa tokhang? Matanong ko nga po kayo.
Wala po kung
Kaya monetary reward, whatever you call it, you do not want to call it as monetary reward, operational support. Yun po siguro yung kuha ninyo. Pero merong pera na involved. At ang pagbabayad dun sa neutralization, depende dun sa tao na na-neutralize. Would that be correct also, Colonel Garma?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Pidea?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Colonel Leonardo, would you agree with that? Baka ikaw na lang naman hindi mag-agree.
Yun lang po alam ko, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. As a matter of fact, yung pagkamatay ng tatlong Chinese doon sa Davao Penal Colony, the death of Mayor Espinosa, detainee or PDL Egay Alvarez, and others ay part of the war on drugs because lumabas na yung listahan eh. Pedaya, would you agree with that?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Kasi nandun yung mga namatay na ito nandun sa first list eh.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you do not know that, Colonel Leonardo.
Alam ko po na may...
Alam mo.
May namatay.
And Colonel Garma, are you aware of that also?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Mhm. Now, Pedea, are you aware of the incident in 2016 where 10 suspected drug lords were killed in Pasay?
I will find out, Your Honor. I am not with this.
Colonel Garma, are you aware of that?
No, Mr. Chair.
Colonel Leonardo, are you aware of that? That incident in Pasay in August 2016?
Hindi po ako aware dyan, Mr. Chair.
You do not know that?
Negative, Mr. Chair.
Ha? Balitang-balita na yung mga gumawa nito, they received 10 million for the 10 suspected drug lords na namatay. And you do not know that? Siguro, Pedea, could you please research on this?
We are checking on it already, Your Honor.
Yes, thank you. Now, Colonel Garma, you have been assigned in Cebu for how long?
January of 2017 to June of 2019, Mr. Chair. 17, 18.
2 years?
2.5 years.
2.5 years?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And who was assigned first to Region 7? General Sinas or you?
Ako po, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Ikaw ang nauna.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Now, in your stint in Cebu, how many prominent persons were neutralized, suspected of being drug lords?
Marami pong high value mga officials that were killed, Mr. Chair. Not only in Cebu City but nearby cities and towns under the Cebu province po.
No. Ang prominent dun ay yung ambush kay Mayor Luot, right?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Was then a retired general.
Mr. Chair?
Retired General Luot became mayor.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Na-ambush siya in Malapascua, Cebu.
Nung
place is
galing po siya ng Malapascua Island,
Malapascua, Cebu.
yes, nagdock po yung boat nila.
Yes. And doon din sa Cebu, may mga PDEA agents din na namatay. Would that be correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
PDEA, tuturin ba yun? That you had agents in Cebu who were killed or neutralized?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. So, may I know, Colonel Garma, since you were there, were they part of the war on drugs also? Yung mga killings na nangyari during your 2.5 years stint?
I believe, Mr. Chair, they are part because sa mga press release po na may mention na they are in the list.
And rewards were also given to those people who neutralized these people.
I believe, Mr.
You
Chair.
believe that? Okay, thank you. Mr. Chair, malapit na akong antukin. Pwede po ba? Itigil na natin. Marami pong salamat.
Okay. Thank you,
Mr. Chair.
Congressman Akop.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
Sorry.
Congressman Fernandez.
I hope that will be the last interpellator because the Secretary General have already declared no classes or no work tomorrow.
Mr. Chair,
And we're about to reach the 14-hour first time na 14-hour po tayo. At our physical capacity are giving up.
Mr.
But
Chair,
our
I move.
mental
Mr. Chairman,
our mental function.
Mr. Chairman,
Well, I think sige, Mr. Chair, I yield to Chairman Paduano.
No,
overexposed na yung iba. Hanggang alauna
we still have
nagsasalita.
two interpellators, Congressman Busita and then Congressman Lordan Suwan. So I thought Congressman Dan Fernandez is going to interpellate since you're not. So we now recognize Congressman Busita for your interpellation.
thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, sundan ko lang po yung ilang questions ni Honorable Congressman Acop kay Colonel Leonardo. Colonel Leonardo, naniniwala ka na may mga biktima ng extrajudicial killings? Yes or no?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Naniniwala ka ba na ito ay marami at hindi ilan lamang?
I don't know the exact figure, Mr. Chair, but I believe so.
Marami. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colonel Leonardo, matanong ko lang, ikaw ba ay family man? May pamilya ka rin?
Opo, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Naniniwala ka ba na mahalaga ang tatay sa pamilya?
Opo, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Naniniwala ka rin ba na sa ordinaryong pamilya, pag namatay ang tatay, parang nasira na rin ang buhay at kinabukasan ng mga anak?
Tama po yun, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Naniniwala ka ba na sa ordinaryong pamilya, especially itong majority sa biktima ng extrajudicial killings, sa ating bansa, yung mga professionals, usually ang anak isa, dalawa. Pero yung mga maliliit na manggagawa, ang anak, 6, 7, 8. Tama ba?
Tama po, Mr.
Okay.
Chair.
So, would you agree na kapag yung isang biktima ng extrajudicial killing, may 5 anak, parang kung titingnan natin, mas malaki ang possibility na masisira ang buhay at kinabukasan ng mga bata? Yes or no?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So, kung titingnan natin, mathematically, out of 20,000 na mga namatay, assuming 10,000 doon yung family man, mathematically speaking, more or less, 50,000 yung bata na nagsasuffer na ngayon. Would you agree?
I agree, Mr. Chair.
Yes. So, meaning, kung titingnan natin yung long-term effect nitong pinag-uusapan natin extrajudicial killings, sa pananaw ng iba, tama ang ginawa nila. Pero kung susuriin natin mabuti, mas dadami pa yung pwedeng maging kriminal. Itong mga bata na nasisira ang buhay at kinabukasan. Would you agree?
Maaari po, Mr. Chair.
So, kung titingnan natin, talagang itong resulta ng extrajudicial killings, hindi nare-resolve ang problema. Instead, minomultiply pa. Yes or no?
Maaari po, Mr. Chair.
Yes or no?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Kaya ako po, personally, natutuwa na yung Quadcom nandito. At least, mapigilan na itong extrajudicial killings. And nung nasa active service pa ako, isa, Mr. Chair, at sinasabi ng senior officers, kaya nasibak ako sa Cavite, yung nasa watch list na 20, actually 21 yun, Mr. Chair, peacefully, napasurrender ko yung 20. And because of that, nasibak ako sa pwesto. Hindi daw ako marunong sumunod sa guidance. Hindi ako marunong sumunod, Mr. Chair, kasi nga, sabi ko doon sa senior officer, mali yun eh. Yung isang suspect,
isasacrifice mo yung buhay. Pwede naman bigyan ng second chance. Actually, Mr. Chair, kung iintindihan ng mga kasama natin, maganda yung intention ng tokhang eh. Kakatukin mo yung pamilya, i-inform mo na may information na nasasangkot sa illegal drugs yung kanilang kapamilya. At kung pwede, isurrender, mag-undergo ng seminar to be being handled by religious leaders. Alam nyo ba yon, Colonel Leonardo, na may ganong programa?
Meron po, Mr. Chair.
Yes. And because of the reward system, would you agree na may mga police na nag-take advantage para kumita? Yes or no?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes or no?
Yes, Mr.
Yes, thank you, Colonel Leonardo. So, again, Mr. Chair, napakaganda na na-address ito ng Quadcom. At least, alam ko po, yung mga police na involved dito ay mapipigilan para wag nang gawin pa. Kasi nga po, sabi ko, ang pananaw ko, personally, hindi nare-resolve yung problema. Instead, minomultiply natin. Ngayon, hindi pa natin nararamdaman. Pero one thing for sure, Mr. Chair, marami ng bata ang nagsasuffer. Marami ng bata ang nasisira ang buhay at kinabukasan. So again, personally, ako po'y natutuwa, Mr. Chair, na mayroong Quadcom wherein ina-address po itong extrajudicial killings. And based on our hearings, conducted hearings, very clear. Talagang may extrajudicial killings. And Brother Colonel Leonardo, salamat. At least, yung mga tanong ko sa'yo ay sinagot mo ng diretso. Yun lamang po, Mr. Chair. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Congressman Busita. And last interpellator for this morning, Congressman Lord Dansuan. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colonel Leonardo, before you were appointed as Police Commissioner, what was your assignment?
I was with the DNR, Mr. Chair, as Undersecretary po.
Ano po? DNR?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair.
But that was after your stint as CIDG Chief in Region 11, was it not?
Correct po, Mr. Chair.
Did you apply for the position of Police Commissioner or were you recommended for the post?
I was appointed, Mr. Chair. I just received order, Mr. Chair.
Would you consider a commissioner of the NAPOLCOM a high position, Colonel Leonardo?
Based on salary grade, Mr. Chair, it's higher, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Are you a lawyer, Colonel Leonardo?
Hindi po, Mr. Chair.
Do you have a master's degree or a PhD?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
A PhD?
Yes po, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So you had that before you were appointed as Police Commissioner?
Yes, Mr.
You were
Chair.
already a PhD before you were appointed as Police Commissioner?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
When were you appointed as Commissioner?
February 2022, Mr. Chair.
February 2022. And who appointed you as Commissioner?
The former President, Rodrigo Roa Duterte, Mr. Chair.
So you must have done something special to be appointed as Police Commissioner and before that as Undersecretary of Environment and Natural Resources. Is that right?
I have done many operations when I was with DNR, Mr. Chair. I led the anti-illegal logging task force.
When you were an Undersecretary?
Undersecretary, Mr. Chair.
And then you were appointed as Commissioner of the NAPOLCOM afterwards?
I was appointed as Commissioner of NAPOLCOM, Vice then General Serapio, Mr. Chair. Nag-end po yung kanyang term, Mr. Chair.
And then before you were appointed as Undersecretary of the DNR, what was your job?
I was the Regional Chief of CIDG 11, Mr. Chair.
So you were appointed to all these very high positions simply because you were Regional Chief of the CIDG Region 11? You expect us to believe that you were appointed as Undersecretary and then Commissioner of the NAPOLCOM by just being the regional head of CIDG Region 11. Is that so?
May I be clarified with a question, Mr. Chair?
Do you mean to say that you were appointed to these very high positions, Colonel Leonardo, simply because you were the head of the CIDG Region 11? Or did you do something even more? Was there something was there something special about you that among all the police officers, all the regional heads, you were the one who were appointed to two very high positions?
I believe, Mr. Chair, it's just usual for police officers to be appointed as USEC and other position similar to USEC, Mr. Chair.
Okay, but those who are appointed are they colonels or are they usually generals?
There are a lot of colonels and there are also generals, Mr. Chair, who were appointed in different positions as USEC, ASEC, and other positions, even director, Mr. Chair.
You know, your appointment as undersecretary and as police commissioner is very suspect, and it leads me to believe that you must have done something extraordinary for the president to appoint you to these positions. A few more questions, Mr. Chair, just a couple more. Kilala niyo po ba ang mga Parohinogs in Osamis? Do you know them?
Kilala ko lang po, Mr. Chair.
Do you know Mayor Espinosa also? Mayor Espinosa.
Yes, alam ko po, Mr. Chair.
And have you also heard of those 3 Chinese drug lords who were murdered?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Itong mga binanggit ko, considered po sila na mataas na tier na mga targets, right? Na may malaking bonus pag sila ay na-operate successfully. Is that correct? Would you agree with me? Na
I just
yung
heard
mga binanggit ko,
heard that they were monetary given to them given, Mr. Chair, as manifested during the previous hearing, Mr. Chair.
So kaya po hindi nakakapagtaka na itong mga binanggit ko ay napaslang na. Di po ba? Dahil malalaki yung mga bonus nila pag na-operate sila successfully.
I cannot confirm, Mr. Chair. I don't have personal knowledge with regards to this.
Sige. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Congressman Suan. And Congressman Paduano. 1 minute suspension. Hearing is resumed. Congressman Paduano.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just some important admin matters, Mr. Chairman. First, we have received a copy of letter request coming from Mr. Luisito Obales, which is cited in contempt and detained at the Quezon City Jail. Based on this letter, is requesting to lift the contempt order to him. That started last September 27, 2024. Mr. Chairman, for humanitarian purposes or consideration, because nagkadenggi pa po yung anak niya, instead of lifting, Mr. Chairman, I move that we transfer Mr. Nisito Bales to be detained in the House premises, Mr. Chairman. So move, Mr. Chairman.
There's a motion to transfer the what's his name? Mr. Obales, who is presently detained at the Quezon City Jail, to be transferred to the House of Representatives detention facility. Duly seconded. Hearing no objection, the motion is approved. COMSEC, please coordinate with the Quezon City Jail. Have the detained personality be transferred in the House detention facility. Congressman Paduano.
Second, Mr. Chairman, we have in receipt a copy of a letter coming from Superintendent Marjorie P. Sanidad, acting superintendent of the CIW, in which Catherine Cassandra Leong is detained. And the content of the letter, Mr. Chairman, is that the CIW is informing this committee that the contempt order for Ms. Cassandra Leong will last on October 24, this Thursday. And question of, in the case of Catherine Cassandra Leong, he was cited in contempt last September 25 for 30 days, Mr. Chairman. And in the case of Cassandra Leong, Mr. Chairman, until now, Ms. Cassandra Leong has not yet submitted all the documents, no, being issued a subpoena for Cassandra Leong to submit in this committee, Mr. Chairman. So, with that, Mr. Chairman, I move that we extend the contempt order for Ms. Cassandra Leong on the basis of for not submitting documents being issued a subpoena by this honorable committee, Mr. Chairman. So move, Mr. Chairman.
There's a motion to extend the detention of Cassandra Leong for failing to submit to the Quad Committee the documents required of her. And duly seconded. Are there any objections? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
Chair, can I
Mr.
ask for a
Chairman,
1 minute suspension?
We need the second motion, Mr. Chairman, for the period of detention for Ms. Cassandra Ong.
Please proceed. Please proceed with the second motion. Any second motion from any member?
Seconded, Mr. Chair.
No. Second motion.
Nakop.
There's a 1 minute suspension being asked by...
1 minute suspension.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, just for record purposes, I will amend my motion that is not as per advice of our legal.
Hearing is resumed. Congressman Paduano, please.
Mr. Chairman, due apologies, Mr. Chairman, for reconsideration of my first motion, that is not anymore extension, but I move to cite in contempt, once again, Ms. Cassandra Leong for refusal to submit pertinent documents being required by this honorable committee. So move, Mr. Chairman.
If just a point of clarification, are we withdrawing the earlier motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, that's why for reconsideration kasi it was already approved by this honorable committee, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so there's now a motion to cite Cassandra Leong in contempt for failing to submit to the committee all the documents required of her by the committee, which was a subject of subpoena ducis tecum. Any second? Duly seconded. Any objections? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
Mr. Chair,
Congressman Abante.
we'd like to find out where Cassie Ong is right now. Where is she detained right now?
She is presently detained at the Women's Correctional in Mandaluyong. If you recall, last September 25, the committee cited her in contempt and detained her at the Women's Correctional in Mandaluyong City.
Mr. Chair, if there's any place here in the House, should not we detain her here? Where it's nearer? Mr. Chair?
I think,
Anyway, she has been there for more than 2 weeks.
I think her counsel was the one who chose the place where her client wants to be detained. It is the choice of Cassandra Leong to be detained outside of the premises of the House of Representatives.
Mr. Chairman,
So,
if I may.
Congressman Dan Fernandez.
I remember Ms. Cassandra Ong manifesting in this Quadcom the reason why she cannot deliver all those documents precisely because her cell phone was confiscated by the NBI and all the documents pertaining to the query of this Quadcom cannot be replied by her. And if my memory serves me right, she was asking that her cell phone be returned to her for her to submit all those documents. But of course, I submit to the wise wisdom of this
If I
committee.
may ask Congressman Dan Fernandez, do you keep all your important data in your cell phone? Aside from the photos.
Mr. Chair,
Do you keep your
And
important...
videos.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair.
Let me just ask...
Mr. Chair,
Congressman-
just one query. That's Congressman Fernandez, Miss Cassie Ong's text.
I just remember her trying to tell us that the reason why she cannot submit the documents because it was in her cell phone. Kaya it just entered my mind. Even I was so sleepy already, I can still remember those statement that was delivered. I think we can check the
We'll
records.
discuss that some other time, Congressman Fernandez. In the meantime, let us continue with the discussion of the other matters.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Congressman DS JJ Suarez.
Thank you very much and good morning to all. I've noticed that throughout our past few hearings, we've been citing a lot of uncooperative resource persons who've been evasive and who insist on keeping the truth from the Quadcom, and they have been cited in contempt numerous times. Now, in the spirit of fairness, we also have resource persons who have shared very sensitive information that may become a problem for them in the future if cases are entertained against them. Is it possible, Mr. Chair, that the Quadcom can entertain the idea of providing legislative immunity to resource persons who have shared valuable information to the committee that will lead to legislative action similar to those that we have seen in the past 2 weeks where laws and bills have been proposed and positions to Solicitor Generals have been forwarded. So that's the question that I would like to pose to the committee, Mr. Chair.
Well, we will have to study that, Your Honor, because granting of legislative immunity is limited only until after we terminate the committee hearings on the said committee investigation. But just the same, since there is a request from the Deputy Speaker, the committee will ask the legal department to study the grant of legislative immunity to our witnesses, especially those who have cooperated fully with the investigation being conducted by the Quadcom. In the meantime, absent the study and the recommendation, we will have to defer granting of the legislative immunity, Your Honor.
So thank you very much, Mr. Chair. For that matter, I would like to request that we consider, if once available to us, former Colonel General Manager Royina Garma to be provided the same. And because Colonel Ed Leonardo has also cooperated with the Quadcom, that this same protection be provided to them by this August chamber.
We will ask our legal department to study the said proposal, and of course they will be the ones to evaluate this, and it will be forwarded to this committee for our approval. There is a necessity for a committee action on this particular request. Therefore, we will have to wait until we schedule our next committee hearing and decide on this particular request, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. Maganda din po kasi to, Mr. Chair, dahil sa siguro mas maiengganyo yung ilang pa nating resource persons na makiisa sa ipinaglalaban ng Quadcom at makatulong din po sa pag-address ng maraming suliranin at hamon na hinaharap ng ating bansa. So maraming salamat, Chairman Ace, for the wisdom that you have provided with regards to the issue of immunity.
Thank you, DSJJ Suarez.
Mr. Chair,
Congressman Acop.
may move that the Miss Cassandra Ong will continue to be detained at the Correctional Institute for Women until further notice. So move, Mr. Chair.
There is a motion to continue the detention of Cassandra Leong at the Women's Correctional in Mandaluyong. Duly seconded. Any objections? No objections. The motion is approved.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Chair,
Congressman Abante and then Congressman Fernandez.
aren't
Mr.
we
Chair.
going to have a motion to suspend, Mr. Chair? Hindi naman ako
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair,
Congressman Acop.
may I respectfully amend my motion because I think it's lacking until she submits the required documents required by this committee. So
Okay.
move, Mr. Chair.
There is an amendment to the earlier motion approved by the body with respect to the detention at the Women's Correctional of Miss Cassandra Ong until she submits the documents required of her. Any second? Duly seconded. Any objections? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Congressman Dan Fernandez.
considering that the resource persons who have acted rightly, by telling the truth on this committee, do we consider to lift citing them in contempt? Because the two personalities who have been very cooperative have been here for several weeks already. May I be clarified on this matter? Because I heard from their lawyers that they have the intention to be released from our detention. So I think it is imperative upon us to tackle this issue for the very reason that some of them wanted to be out of our custody.
Well, the committee was the one responsible in citing them in contempt. And in order to lift this contempt order, there has to be a committee action as well, wherein majority of its members will agree to a motion lifting the said contempt order.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask for a few minutes suspension?
Yes, I was about to tell that. 1 minute suspension, Mr. Chairman.
30-minute suspension.
Colonel Leonardo.
Hearing is resumed. Okay, any motion?
Mr. Chair,
Motion to
Mr.
suspend
Chair,
the...
Mr. Chair,
Abante,
just a moment.
Congressman Abante.
On the query of Congressman Fernandez, I would suggest that we talk about the release this coming Monday in the next hearing.
Since we don't have a quorum anyway, we cannot decide on a matter where a committee action is necessary. Therefore, we will have to wait until the next hearing and a quorum is established. So, any other motion?
I move to
Mr. Chair.
suspend our hearing, Mr. Session.
There is
Mr.
a
Session.
motion to
Mr. Chairman.
suspend the committee hearing of the Quadcom, duly seconded. Any objection? Hearing none. Session is suspended.
Picture. Time checks.